You there?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, who's that?
Who's that?
Oh, it's
Oh
Anicius.
my God.
Give me two seconds here. I'm just getting finished set up. 2 seconds. Just to let you know, we should be live now as well, Anicius. So
Okay. Just on it.
okay, I'll try and work with that. How are you getting on?
I'm good.
I have a bunch of things I want to get through. We can digress at any point if you wanna weigh in, but there's a couple of things I just want to go through. Just if somebody happens to be watching this down the line and they're looking for how to actually do it, I'd like it to be a little bit informative. Navigating around, as you know, some of these things can be a little bit convoluted. Even the most experienced players sometimes are going, how the hell am I meant to do this? What links in with what? You know, it's never simple.
Okay,
So we're gonna take
I'm
a
here
look
to
at that.
listen.
How are you finding it yourself so far? Hello,
Hey, Beyond.
hello, Heck.
Hey,
How are you
Heck.
keeping?
What's up? Alright.
I'm just saying to
Okay,
Anicius
good.
there, Heck, that I have a couple of things written out. I was going to do this. I was just going to record and do this, you know, but I have too many things on in real life at the moment that it's just easier, to be honest with you, just to go live and do it as I'm sitting here, you know, rather than all the editing and stuff. So I have a bunch of notes made that I want to go through it. I wouldn't mind, if you guys don't mind, if there's anything I miss, jump in with it. If there's anything you're hearing, I've looked through some of the forums. Obviously not Star Trek Fleet Command official Discord, but I've been looking at Reddit and I've been looking at different other Discords people are talking on, and many of the same issues coming up. I'd like to get into that at some point, but you guys might see something or have seen something that I've missed, so feel free to jump in with that at any time. I'll be back in 1 second.
Okay. How are you, Hack? You good?
I'm doing alright.
It's been a while since we met
Yeah.
here. Well, my fault. I have been a little away, but nice to hear you,
Well,
buddy.
It's been a while, right? Since Morgan's done one. I think the last one we did was Borg Arc 4.
Yeah, I was supposed to come, but then I don't know, got tired or real life got in the way, and
Yeah. I heard you on Deuce's stream the other night. I heard you.
were there.
I heard you saying that you felt like you were cheating and all of that kind of shit.
I did. It's true.
Oh, I hear it all. I'm just surprised you're not. I heard he was going live tonight himself, and DJ as well was live this evening, I think, or maybe I don't. Maybe DJ was recording, but.
Oh, they are alive.
They both
Okay,
did.
sorry, Morgan, have to go. Huh?
Bye. Wednesday's a pretty busy evening for the content creators, but like my phone's been hopping with notifications. Every one of the content creators, big or small, have been all over this with videos prepared and stuff.
Okay.
You know, and I've watched a little bit of what some of the guys have been doing, and I don't think anybody has done a full comprehensive thing that covers everything. You know, everybody has their own focus, and we'll probably be the same, you know, but I'm going to try and be as comprehensive as possible with these notes that I've made. I wasn't even sure if I was going to get to go live this evening, but I bit the bullet there about 15 minutes ago and started the setup. And the first thing I was looking at when I jumped in, I was having a wee nosy around earlier, but I haven't done any of this really. I haven't really engaged in any serious way with it. I was just having a wee nosy about, get a feel for it. My first impression is it's all augment based, really. Like it's really augments we're looking at.
Yeah, it's all augment. Yeah.
So they've tried to refresh the augment stuff. We have. Go ahead,
We have new entry points, which is nice.
Yeah, they revamped the entire thing.
Yeah, the first thing I noticed when I looked into it, and I have it up on the screen here, is, and we called for this. I mean, it's no offense to any of the other content creators, but we were saying this in community panels a year ago. When did augments come out? It must be a year ago now at this stage, and we were saying constantly, why don't they give us hijacked faction ship blueprints in the augment faction store? There was no logic at the time why they wouldn't give people the ability to get them, and now we have it.
There was a point they were giving. You know, remember in the beginning they did give. You could buy them.
No, not in the store itself.
Not in the faction store. You could get them.
Store.
Yeah, and I have a mixture of various amounts of hijacked ship blueprints here. Nick, to the likes of yourself, Anisius, probably pointless even looking at them at this point. But the likes of Phil on the founder server there, the likes of Phil in Hum, he's saying he will get them eventually because he likes to collect them. You know, the collector in him probably will, you know, so that probably applies to the likes of yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it will happen to me, but I'm not a collector. I don't have that thing.
Right. And some people will. I've had a hijacked legionary for quite a while, and probably just because of the date it's in it, I'll use that during the stream, because everybody, all of the low to mid-level guys are probably going to be running around in these hijacked ships now, given the availability of blueprints here.
But made it so available.
Can someone tell me what's the advantage? Well, besides...
Well, I remember the argument that we were using way back to put them in the faction store in the first place. It was another way of getting a faction ship without being allied to any of the three main factions. And then they took away the ability to get these blueprints. And so people were kind of left going, if you had one, you got one, you were lucky enough. But if you didn't, it's tough shit. And it's just one of these ships that's unavailable.
But lucky enough because the way to upgrade them is with the rare plutonium.
You have to use plutonium.
Yeah. Look, from your point of view, Heck, maybe you want to deal with that. Just what level are you? Are you still 29? What are you, 30?
I'll move to 30.
Right, you've moved to 30. So for somebody like yourself, maybe you can talk for a wee moment while I go through my notes on the value of having hijacked ships now available in the or not as the case may be. Maybe times have changed and it's not as relevant as it once was to us. Would you talk to that for a second?
Oh no. So the hijacked ships, they really aren't relevant because first off, if you get a hijacked ship at 26 or 28, it's stuck below tier 6 because at tier 5 you require rare plutonium.
You can only get at 30, right?
You get rare plutonium starting at level 30. And by that point, you probably have a level 28 faction ship, which, you know, most likely is a Saladin or a Centurion, but it's just...
Okay, so that's at your level. What about for somebody who's 26, 27?
They're still going to be locked to tier 4 or tier 5.
Because of the rare. And how do we obtain rare? I seem to have a stock rare. Do you not get rare here in this faction store? You do. You can get rare here.
You get it at level 30.
At level what?
30.
30. Right, okay. And there was a time we would have said that the D3, whether it's hijacked D3 or the normal Klingon D3, there was a time we would have said that was probably the preferable ship out of all three. A lot of criticism of the Mayflower. I personally like the Legionary, but a lot of people are saying the D3. But now with the advent of the Vidar and the ability to get the Vidar, anybody who's got that now probably makes the D3 a little bit redundant.
Yeah.
in terms of the value in where it would have been positioned on the progression curve in those kind of mid to high 20s levels. If you've got a Vidar, probably no need for a hijack D3 now, which leaves me with the Legionary as probably the best recommendation. If you've got a Vidar, Legionary probably the best recommendation if you are going to go for one of these. It is a reasonable battleship. I would say, though, it still doesn't compare, until you get to the higher tiers, it still doesn't compare to the Bortus.
Yeah. My opinion, and because I didn't have 26, so it has been always, don't get a 26 ship. Is not, for me, it's a waste.
Yeah, but you're like what? You're level fucking 40 something?
No, I don't mean now. I mean, when I was a lower level, I skipped to 26 and I grinded the Vortas.
Yeah, you honestly don't need the 26 ships.
And now with the Vidar, that's a good point. Because I went from the Kumari to my Bortas.
Yeah.
So
now, I'm looking at other stuff just that's in the faction store, the new stuff. Then there's an augment faction icon. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I found it was quite easy to max my rep with the augments. Augment space went quiet quite regularly. It was quite easy to get in there, get a bit of stuff done, and get out when there was no events or anything going on. And I got to max my augments quite easily. 100k credits for this. It's quite expensive, but at the same time, it's something to down the line unlock with what's gonna be redundant. It's a redundant currency, you know. And it became a redundant currency. Now, listen, I've seen people at level 38. One of them is a content creator. I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody, but Sync is level 38, and he hasn't got his fucking augment faction maxed. But that would probably be a testament to how pointless it was to really put in any effort in there. It was nice to get a few bits and pieces. If you were working on working on your Botany Bay, for example, you would require the plutonium and the different things there, I suppose.
And more or less. And the officers, I have all the augment officers for so long, even before people had. I have Joaquim, the one with M, for so long, and he's an amazing base cracker, and so that was my focus, was the officers, and then you just do the rep, I think.
Can is a pretty useful officer now, you have to say. People do use Can a fair bit.
Yeah,
I do a lot.
Very useful in PvP and base raiding.
I'm using my crew now. It's Nero, Khan, and Kang. I don't know what to say.
Well, we'll come to officers in a couple of minutes, guys. I have it on the list here as a specific thing I want to talk about, because we've got new officers in here as well. I wanted to touch just on what we can spend our faction credits on. One of them here is a mission storyline. We can get the Augment mission pack. Augments Exodus. So I'm just after clicking that. We'll look at that in a few minutes. The only other thing I was spending my credits on was the odd time I was getting independent credits. It was one of the only ways to get independent credits. I was spending a little bit on that, unlocking a bit of plutonium here and there. But it wasn't something, I wasn't down in augment space doing much up until today. It would be something you just dip into once in a while. I'm gonna nip over to the announcements, to the facts that they put in the wee view screen in the game. Let me just run through this wee bit of storyline here with Otto and Katie. Okay, the first thing I'm looking at, I suppose, is the patch 19 release notes. People can read this at their own time. The first thing they're notifying us about is the new content, the Outlaws. Then they're moving in the Harry mod, obviously, the big one there. They mentioned Battle Pass, but that's a specific part to it later on. New officers. Again, we'll get into that. Navi, Pan, and Raima. Augment faction store content, which we're after just looking at. Rapid mining and buffed Botany Bay. That's been something a lot of people are talking about, and we'll come to that. new free premium outlaw missions featuring Can Harry Mudd. Okay, we'll look at the missions as well, although we'll not spend too much time on that. People can explore the missions at their own leisure. We'll just show people, I suppose, how we unlock them. We're after doing one there from the Augment Faction store. Introducing the Battle Pass, again, something that people are talking about. We'll look at that in a minute. And the changelog, they've improved a couple of things in regards to data nodes. They're saying regarding armadas. There is an officer here we'll look at in a wee while that's armadas focused. And then a whole host of bug fixes listed. When I first opened the game and I looked at this is quite a big list of bug fixes, and even though I haven't experienced some of these bugs myself, and even though there are other bugs that I think they should be attending to that aren't on the list.
I experienced all of them, I think.
All of them. Some of them have not. As I was reading through them, I was like, yeah, okay, I've heard about this or whatever, but I haven't. It hasn't affected me too much. And there are other things there that have been in the game for a while in terms of bugs that are not on the list. But listen, I thought it was a really good thing to see such a long list of bug fixes. I thought it was a very, very positive thing. It gave me a positive feeling, thinking, right, okay, it's not just dumping new content on us to make money. They're listing off a shitload of stuff that they have actually been working on and fixed. However, typical Scopely, when there's new content, they fix one thing and they break another thing. And this has been the MO from the very, very start. It's the running joke. We can probably get into some of the more specific bugs that people are talking about out there at the minute, if any of you guys have experienced any.
I did. I couldn't kill hostiles. I couldn't do armadas.
You couldn't kill hostiles where? Anywhere?
In Sol. I just tried Sol.
Okay, I heard of a couple of guys talking about not being able to kill Borg probes.
I think it was a general thing.
Somebody's in the background there talking and I can hardly hear them.
I think it's hack.
You've gone very, very faint on us there, Heck.
You are muffled.
Is this better?
That's much better.
Yes.
Alright, so Panic did acknowledge that there was a few bugs, but they did create a hotfix for it. But I didn't have any of the issues that you guys ran into of, not being able to target hostiles.
Yeah.
Issue. Well, the one thing I did run into was when you refresh the node, you'll get off the node and it'll say you're still occupying the node.
Oh yeah, I saw many people with that as well.
Yeah. That was a bug that occurred with Vamet before, but it was only when you had Vamet as captain if you got killed while mining on that node, but now it's happening regardless of Vamet.
I had people, what I heard was in Yarda, but I guess that's general. But so that was happening with Mina, that was happening with Battle as well, because armadas were, so I would do an armada, the time would run, and then in the end, because I've started it, we would not attack. So today I really had a good experience with Scopely. I sent them a ticket saying, oh, I done this, I spent the, 500 credits. They refund me the credits for it, so it was really nice of them to do that. I also had problems with recruits. I spent like 12k ultras, and I got a message error, so I didn't got the officers, but my recruits were spent. So I also got that back. Not sure if by Scopely or it just updated and I got them back in all in one.
Okay, so, you didn't submit a ticket, you just got them eventually.
Yeah, I did submit, but I got them eventually.
Right,
I don't know if it was them or
you'd like to think that they looked at it, acknowledged it, and sorted it out. But we have gotten experiences with serious lag in the communication between the Scopely servers, and your client and your device. It's been a known thing that sometimes it just takes a while for the bloody thing to recognise that something has happened. Like an officer pull or whatever.
I know, but it was like an hour. Usually it's, takes a while, but it's...
Yeah. No, it would be nice to think, it mightn't be a good idea to encourage you, because you give out a fair wee bit recently and made your voice heard quite recently, so maybe they just didn't want the headache again, and they said, no, give her back that shit, don't deny her anymore.
No, I was really well treated. I'm very honest, so I'm the first one to say when things are not well done. But in this case, I think it was very straightforward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, I want to roll it on a wee bit, guys.
Sorry, Amorgin.
No, you're grand. You're grand. We've looked at the faction store, and we've had a wee nosy just at the FAQ on the patch 19 notes. One of the things here that they've put in as a notice as well is information about this battle pass system. I like that. Quite a long Q&A on it. People again can go and read that at their own kind of leisure. But what we're essentially looking at here, and somebody else said it, and again, it's something I think we've talked about a number of times in the community panel, is certainly I remember mentioning it, is along these lines of how Fortnite do things. I've heard this mentioned, that it's very like Fortnite. It reminds people of Fortnite, and sure enough, the way they display it, and it looks like Fortnite in terms of you've got your free rewards, and then you've got your premium rewards if you have the battle pass.
I don't know. I never played Fortnite.
So like the price of your battle pass is twice as much as Fortnite, and a Fortnite battle pass will last you something like 3 months, whereas this is for 1 month. However, it is the same sort of logic behind it. There'll be free-to-play players, and then there will be players who will pay you for premium content. Another big difference between the likes of Fortnite and this is that the rewards in the premium content are actually going to give you an advantage in the game, whereas in Fortnite it's all cosmetic. Everything you can buy is really only to make your character look good, or to this kind of thing. There's nothing that actually affects your ability to do well in the game.
But a question. So I see the user interface is different, but before we didn't have the pass, but we did got an advantage on mission. So for me it feels kind of the same, but better.
Exactly. To me, what they've done is they've tidied up how it's displayed. Like, there was a problem there, I think, with how the developers and the people who were planning the content, what they wanted to deliver, which was close enough to the industry norm, but how it was displayed and delivered to us didn't sit well with the players because of paywalls and things like this. Spenders getting advantages and all of those complaints that you'll get out there, and they realised at some point this is just it's the communication. You've got two adapters that just don't fit because they're not communicating with each other, so they changed how they interact with us visually on the screen. They changed how they display the information for us to digest it in a very, very understandable way, with one of the most, if not the most popular computer game that has certainly the most successful startup computer game that I have ever seen. It's Fortnite, in terms of how people have embraced it and the style and what they offer. It's not really my cup of tea. I've tried it, surely, but in terms of how I see what they're offering me and what I can spend my money on, it's very clearly displayed now, and very like Fortnite.
And it helps as well, because for the people that spend money, we can always see the upgrade it gives us, but this way, the people that don't spend money can also see exactly the upgrade it gives you to actually spend money. So it's good for everyone, I think, because it clears things up, but it actually gives like a carrots for
Yeah.
the people that don't.
And I
spend
can
money.
make
Like,
an informed choice. I can make an informed choice a lot easier by looking at this and going, okay, that's what I'm getting, that's what I could get. Can I live without those premium rewards? Am I okay going through this every day, every week, knowing that I'm missing those, and still have the option when I get to milestone 10 of going, shit, right, I'm going to buy this and unlock all of these things that I've missed out on so far. So it's something we have seen in the board content, and it was welcome, and I believe that they've announced that they had a very successful payday in it, that it did work financially for them. So that's all to be commended, and it's nice to see when something works and it's more geared towards lower spenders. We could get into a whole argument around the cost of these things, like we mentioned, like if you compare it to Fortnite, it's still way more expensive. It works out, twice the cost for 1/3 of the length of time you're going to play it. But having said that, I think it's on the right track. Just in terms of how we do this, so Outlaws, it's in our events tab there, Outlaws and your battle pass, right? And all very nicely displayed and all of that. And some people will be asking, how do we do it? How do you engage with it? So it's done through these other events that we see. First of which will be Hostile Hunt, and then on Unlikely Partnership. We'll come to them in a wee moment. The final thing I want to look at in the view screen there, guys, is the mention of Outlaws. Before we move on to looking at the actual event itself, they announced about Harry Mudd coming into the game, made a bit of a big deal about it. Again, they're mentioning the Battle Pass system, and there's this thing about the packs and the way it's displayed. If you go in and check out the $100 pack and buy that, you can't buy the $20 pack, and an announcement has been made about that kind of stuff. A bit of confusion about that. For you guys who are maybe spenders, they're like yourself, Ignatius, is that an issue?
No, I went to the bigger packs, and I didn't. And so you have to buy one of the two, and no, it's not. No, not an issue.
Okay, I've heard a little bit of complaining from people saying that they would have liked to have bought the $20 pack. That would have been their preference. They just didn't see it popping up for them, so they ended up buying the $100 pack, thinking that was the only way to get the premium content. And then they realized that other people. Then they realized other people were getting a $20 pack, and they were like going, shit, I would have much preferred to buy a $20 pack. If I had seen that first, I would have bought it. Some people basically complained about feeling duped into buying the $100 pack, as opposed to the first thing they're seeing is an option between both.
Well, today I it seems like I'm on the side of Scopely, but it also, I think it has to also depends on if people update the app. That's why they weren't seeing everything. I don't know.
Well,
but
I mean,
I saw them all.
When you're coming and talking about people's money, you should probably try to help them out and get them what they want. Because
okay, well, to illustrate this,
$80 difference.
To illustrate this, right? If I go into the Outlaws tab in, if I go into events, right, and I go into the Battle Pass and Outlaws, and I'm looking at that, and it's all very nicely displayed, and then I see, okay, unlock Elite. I've got the free list, and I've got the Elite list, and I say, oh, okay, unlock Elite, right? Okay, so I hit unlock Elite. The first thing comes up to me is $109.99, and what's in that?
Oh, it took me to a $20
right
pack, and it doesn't even show me the $100.
Okay, so I'm sitting there looking at that going, okay, that's how I unlock the Elite. And unless I'm savvy enough to come out of that and then have a wee nosy through the offers in general, then I'll notice the Outlaws Elite Pass, which is simply the Elite Pass, an Alliance gift of 3 minutes speed up, and a few 5 Harry Mudd shards. I guess that's what it is people are giving out about. And then there's other Outlaws packs and a Botany Bay upgrade. We haven't mentioned just the Botany Bay there. You guys both have Botany Bays, I take it?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone can get one for free from doing
from doing
the
the
original
missions.
augment missions.
Okay, so why are they offering the Botany Bay blueprints in the faction store for?
Well, I thought
I think
about
that's
that.
a glitch.
I don't
If you already have
because
one.
I was thinking how I could use them because I have 5, and I was like, okay,
You have 5 Botany Bays.
I have.
Shit.
So
why
I
have
was
you got
like,
5 Botany Bays?
Well, now I can give you an answer. Before I couldn't, and my answer is, well, I only have 5, but if I have 6, I could
Literally
get.
every time she refreshes a node, she's gonna have to refresh another one.
Imagine that I have 3 ships on a, a 3 ship thing, and I can always be random them. I can, just go around with them, just instead of going out and
yes, but
coming
why
back.
before now? Why would you want to be able to do that?
One of the reasons was because in my server, one of the alliances, which is XXX, they were, well, not me, but they were trying to impose a thing like we can only use BBs on augmented space, and I'm like, we can only use BBs. That's okay with me. I get more BBs, and I just take them all, and I don't have to worry because they were like no warships or no horizons, and because I get much attention because of the power, I was like, okay, no problem. I get more BBs, and then I have no problems. So that was the point at that time, was just having enough BBs to just being
Target
used
all the
in.
Yarda nodes.
Yeah, so I wouldn't have to think that, oh my god, now I'm with a warship or a horizon, maybe they will kill me, and then it will be all that trouble.
Okay,
then
we'll let you off with that. For anybody watching, you do not need 5 Botany Bays. Okay.
No, but 2 Botany Bays
is
actually good.
There are Botany Bay. You can get a Botany Bay through the mission storyline. There are Botany Bay blueprints available in this faction store. I clicked on mine there a little while ago. I don't see it as a repeating option there. I don't see it as something I can get tomorrow or the next day or next week or any of that.
But just to tell you, they were giving Botany Bays with the event, so the blueprints. So I just got a lot, winning the events.
Okay.
Okay. I stop.
We've mentioned a little bit about everything there, guys. I think, or practically everything.
Can we speak about the Yarda nodes that now are?
Yeah, we'll come to that.
3.7K. Can we speak about that?
Yeah, we'll come to that in a wee minute. I have that listed here. All right. I'm just on the events here because I want to get through for anybody that's going to sit and watch a stream. They're going to want to see information flowing about what this event is, how to do it, and all of that practically immediately, So I want to look at the events and mention and go back to how we'd said about how these events, we look at Hostile Hunt, Unlikely Partnership, Augment Officers Alliance Leaderboard, and Data Extraction Solo and Leaderboard, that these things are, among them is how you're gonna rank in with this battle pass, even the free to play. It's how you're gonna accrue points in this. The points that they're giving out, it's from obtaining these battle point pass points, right? And there's daily. Well, today it's Hostile Hunt. I don't know if it'll continue to be Hostile Hunt or not, but there's these daily events that will allow you to get these battle pass points, similar to the Borg.
Yeah.
Borg points, or the way they've done things before. So nothing new there except a reskin, something that looks different. Go out and kill a bunch of hostiles, basically, or tear up ships if you want. You can passive grind this. That's the good news on it. I said I would use the Hijacked Legionary. I'm going to send the Hijacked Legionary out to passive grind to get points in that. I'll do that just as we're talking. I'll pick a system. Now, because I'm hostile with Federation, I could do that in Federation space. But also, one of the things in the event, if you look at one of the Alliance, is it the Alliance Data Extraction? It will, no it's not. Is it the Alliance Officers Leaderboard? Yeah, defeat bounty hunters is one of the ways of getting points in the Augment Officers Alliance Leaderboard. So bounty hunters are in augment space, and if you have your faction rep with augments raised high enough, you will be attacked by bounty hunters in augment space. Good options there, I think, for lower level players to be able to go into Rainsford 20, for example, when they've first unlocked augment space. And they can send in a ship into somewhere like Rainsford and passive grind. It doesn't have to be high level stuff. Like high level systems are always preferable, but it's not excluding a lower level player once they can get to augment space in the first place. Any views on that? Heck, being somebody that's come from those ground through those level 20s and spent a fair bit of time there. Are you still with us?
Oh yeah, what's up?
The fact that you can passive grind some of these events, the hostile hunt, will give you points from killing the various level hostiles, and so you can get your rewards through that. Just
like the what's it called? The event we just had, Crucible of War Solo.
Yeah. But if you want to maximize if you're going to send out a ship to be attacked by hostiles, if you want to maximize that, what I'm suggesting here is on the Augment Officers Alliance Leaderboard event. One of the ways of getting points there, 5 points per bounty hunter destroyed. So you'll get a level 22 bounty hunter in Rainsford can be killed by a relatively low level player passive grinding as well. Obtaining points at the same rate as the likes of myself. So what I wanted, just from the likes of yourself and your point of view, having been in the mid to high 20s for quite a while there, have you any? Would that be your recommendation? Have you any views on are there any barriers to that? Am I seeing this right in the sense of this being something beneficial to a lower level?
Well, I mean, if you're 20 or 21, no, because that's when you have the Kara instead, and the bounty hunters are explorers, so it doesn't go in your favor unless you've just over-leveled it. But when you get to 22, 23, maybe. But do remember, unless you're in a super active alliance at that point, there's really no point in competing in those alliance leaderboards and just getting those points.
Okay, well, maybe on your server, but there are other servers out there where a lower level player could potentially be in an alliance of players that are in with a shout of ranking, or just want to test themselves to see how they go. There's
no chance of ranking. I'd just go for it and try it.
If you're level 25 or 26, you can get these. You can gain shards. Now, listen, if you're low level and you're not going down the road of spending, then you're not going to be getting these shards very quickly. But certainly defeating bounty hunters, 5 points per kill. There's no advantage to me having or Initiates having a high level ship there and going out and killing these bounty hunters to somebody who's level 25 in a Kumari. We're still getting 5 points per kill, and it's a level enough playing field there. I thought by the look of it when I first logged in, and I thought that's a nice touch for a lower level.
Yeah, I think it's you are talking about the giving 5 per bounty hunter, bounty hunter. I think it's good that they give 5 points, even if it's a lower or a higher. So anyone can, there's no difference from level. Well, the difference is that higher levels will have stronger ships, so maybe they can spend more time.
Can go grind.
Yeah, they can stay longer grinding. But I think it's a good thing to have an event like that.
I think so.
Yeah.
I want to give a wee mention just to we've looked at Hostile Hunt and we've looked at Augment Officers Alliance Leaderboard. An unlikely partnership is there. You get that by completing the missions. I believe most missions are available free to play as you progress through this battle pass. I think there's only like one mission storyline that you don't get. You can get the keys for all of these, it seems, and I think it says it in the FAQ, at milestone 3, milestone 6, and then milestone 8. Again, that was done in the board content as well. We'll try and keep our information, I suppose, for people who are just coming across the game and are rushing up to the mid-level 20s and want to compete as well. Let me see. We'll take a look down after this. Have I seen everything there? Give me a second. On the likely partnership. Okay, you complete the missions. Nice enough rewards there, I suppose, but not something that's jumping out at me as something I need to do right now. Nice dilithium in it, I guess.
And the solo one, you have a lot of power.
Yeah, and for me, not an awful siege. When I'm looking at it, I'm going, that's not the most difficult thing to do in the world. You know, I could complete that reasonably easily. Different levels on the progression curve. You know, there are different points as you're progressing through the game where things are just really, really tough for whatever reason. It's not balanced perfectly yet. But at the stage that I'm at, I'm pretty pleased with how easy events like that are to complete. Data extraction is the other one, which will lead us nicely as well into Yarda and the nodes and all of that. We have Zeta tokens here too, which I'll come to in a wee moment as well. But data extraction event, mine corrupted, mine decoded, and tier up the Botany Bay. I'm about to tier up my Botany Bay. I'm about to get it to tier 9. I'll speed that up in a wee moment as well. And then there's the Data Extraction Alliance leaderboards, which is much the same thing. And again, Zeta tokens among the rewards. Alliance credits and uncommon for the Alliance event. And we're looking at independent credits and augment points for the solo and Zeta tokens. I don't need any more augment points. I'm maxed with augments, and that's shabby enough independent credits there. I would suggest 100 independent credits for the top milestone. Not great. 100 independent credits are not going to get you very far at all. And that's actually the only independent credits available in the entire reward list. So not attractive rewards in that solo data extraction for me at all. The Zeta tokens and the Alliance one is really the only reason I'll be doing that. And that's always mentioned when we're at it, I suppose, not for people not to forget their dailies. A lot of people are overlooking their dailies at the moment because they're not in your face when you're viewing these events. But data extraction has changed. It's safe to say that the way we extract our data now is a little bit different. You wanted to mention something about the
nodes.
The nodes, I suppose you want to focus in Yarda.
But if I go to Yarda with any of my BB, it takes me less than 8 seconds to zero the node.
Okay.
So as you can imagine, I'm not even doing the event because I'm not going to be looking at my phone every 8 seconds refreshing a node. That's why. Because that's crazy.
Why?
Because it's crazy.
How is it any crazier than grinding on a little red pixel ship every 8 seconds?
Because at least when you're grinding, you go to different places. You're looking the system, finding the one you want
right,
to
but hold on
kill.
a second. You were given out recently about a place that you would grind for blueprints for ships.
Yeah.
Right, and that they had changed that. Right, what system was that you would have been grinding in?
Sol.
Right. So if the way it used to be when you were happier with it.
Yes, I was. So
how
happy.
long would you have spent in Sol?
Oof.
In an average session, hours, and that's going through the same old repetitive process of grinding on those ships in one system, with one ship every 8 seconds.
You want to listen to me? You want to listen to me? When I'm grinding, at least I'm moving around my screen.
But that's exactly the point. in this is you're moving around the nodes.
You're not move. It's just no. It's no. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. It has to be, I don't know, 20 seconds. You know, just so you can put the phone down for, you know, get a glass of water. I don't know.
Okay.
It's too obsessive.
And what's your problem with having to go to get a glass of water while you're grinding? Because this to me is a way of grinding mining.
No, because if I'm zeroed and if I don't refresh immediately, someone's gonna get me. When I'm grinding, I can stop.
But that's not a problem. That's not a problem with the mechanic of the game. That's a problem with your row.
Okay, you asked me what was my problem, and this is my problem.
But that's
it's too less. It's.
But change your row, and that's not a problem then.
Even if I change my row, it's too repetitive.
But is grinding in Sol for hours not too repetitive?
No, I explained why.
No.
Oh my God! Stop pitching your voice. No, it's not. I don't think so. It gives a little liberty to stop, continue, then you die, you repair, and then you come, and then you wait. It's, it's like...
Okay, so don't change your row. Go get your glass of water, get killed, repair, and go again.
I know I can do that. I'm saying why I don't mind. Because it's too repetitive.
Right, but it's fair to say you're not a miner anyway.
Well, in mining events, I win them, so I can.
But we're not all running around in a Vortivore on G4.
You see, the thing of being a miner is not people that like to be miners. Is people that like to not be all the time on the game, because mining, takes a lot of time.
Okay,
how about this? Ship.
How about this? Right, because this has been a point of contention for some people. I've seen a lot of given out about the way they have changed it. And I suppose just to put it in context for people, they've reduced the amount of decoded data you can get in the highest system. What was it down here before? 50,000? 50,000 decoded on
60,000.
60,000, right? But we're talking big numbers on any one of these nodes. Now, they've put in a lot of nodes into Yarda. There was only those three over here, right? So they put in a lot.
There were two, and one wasn't working on mine.
Right. So. But they had one decoded data accelerator with 3 nodes on it, basically, in Yarda. And now there's lots of decoded data accelerators with lots of nodes. So that's something, I suppose, that makes Yarda more accessible for more people.
Yes.
Now, so here's one for you. There is nothing you can do if you improve your augment faction rep. There is nothing you can do in augment space about bounty hunters then. Right? Every other faction, if you want to mine G3 or ore or whatever, you go into faction space. Once you've done your work with that faction, they're going to leave you alone. Okay?
No, I maxed. And the others
right?
in augment.
In augment, it works the other way in the sense that the more you build your faction rep, this outfit become hostile towards you. So once you get beyond a certain point, bounty hunters are going to come after you no matter what. And I'm trying to look across all of the level ranges. For us now, and arguably even for the likes of Hector, you can go down into Yarda, and like I mentioned earlier about passive grinding, like I'm doing with my hijacked legionary here, who there's a bug operating right now where it looks like the ship is constantly trying to warp out of the system when it's actually stationary. But we can go down and passive grind down in Yarda. And have a ship that's strong enough to survive that. Not everybody has ships that are strong enough to survive places like Yarda or even some of the mid-range systems, right? I'll send the hijack legionary down to Yarda to see how it fares against the bounty hunters there. But this idea now that you can go into Yarda at whatever level you manage to get there, you're going to have a bounty hunter on your ass. It's going to kill you pretty quickly if it catches you. So you need to be mobile and active in that system. So it's literally smash and grab, get in and get out before the bounty hunter or anybody else can get you. So for the person who can't go in with a kick-ass ship and just protect their miner, for the person that just wants to, the lower level person that just wants to get into Yarda for 10 minutes, grind like a madman on this if they can get away with a few free nodes, and then get out. This makes sense to me compared to the way that it was, because up until this content was changed like this, Yarda was really off limits unless you were the higher levels.
Yes,
the higher you went in augment space, the more dangerous it was, or the more locked down it was by the higher level players.
That's true. That's true.
You know. Whereas now, when it's not so busy, there might be that free node in Yarda as a lower level in an alliance that mightn't be very popular. I could sneak in and grab a load out of that without being too worried about repair costs, without being too worried, and get a decent little load out of it, if I'm willing to spend 20 minutes grinding it and moving around. You with me?
I am. I am, and I was one of those that would go to Yarda and be in Yarda, and so for me as a player, this it doesn't interest me.
Well, and
I understand what you're saying, and I think it's very nice they put the nodes in Yarda, all those nodes.
Another way of looking at it as well, Anisha, is although you mightn't like this style of play necessarily, or whoever's listening, they mightn't like this style of play, but for the pirate, for the person who just goes out and attacks everything that they see, if they want to get a little bit of decoded data, and it's too dangerous maybe to go into Yarda because it's locked down or whatever, and start, as soon as you start attacking ships, people go on alert, and they'll be after you, they'll chase you out of the system basically. So you've got bounty hunters and an alliance on your tail if you start attacking ships. Whereas if you're a pirate that wants to sneak in and do a little bit of sneaky mining when you normally wouldn't be a miner, you can do that nice and quietly, and unless people are looking at their screen and spot you, you're going to be left alone. So there's a very stealthy way. There's something about this that allows a very stealthy way of getting some decoded data. I don't know. I feel there's a protection there. Like, gone are the days. We had some very good fun here when Rog on our server would they'd lock down the Yarda nodes, right, and protect them.
Yeah, wasn't that fun?
And we would launch from a nearby system with a load of ships and try to take that off them, right?
But that's nice.
That's gone.
See, that's like a PvP event. So we don't have that now. We also almost don't have any PvP.
Yeah, that's gone. That's gone, and that's to be regretted. Like the thing I suppose about it is they can recreate that anywhere.
Well, but they don't.
No, but
the
they
thing
don't.
is that they don't. They can, but they don't. They could just create. Imagine, they could create a system in neutral. With a 3G mine or 4G mine, like 400k mine, and that's it. You have a perfect PvP system there.
Yeah. We've talked about this before. Even make an event around it where something is highly coveted. It doesn't even. It could. This could have been the Borg cube, for example.
Well, so Yarda was that. So
it was, but the problem with Yarda was, other than a little bit of fun to win an event when they gave it to us, which was rare, there was really nothing that was attractive enough about going to Yarda to do this.
Yeah. Well, every time there was an event, I would mine like 6 million decoded. So that would give me like 3 or 4 months of independent credits every day I would do, so to upgrade my officers. So, but the events weren't happening frequently enough to even do that.
Yeah. And that's the thing, that's what I'm saying, they can recreate this anytime they want. If all they need to do is give us something that, like you say, a G4 in mind, or whatever, anything that people want.
They just need a system without anything.
Do an event,
and the mine in a center.
Do an event to say, he who controls, it's king of the castle, he who controls this for longer wins the event.
Yes, well, something.
Yeah,
it's so easy.
Oh, it makes sense. It makes sense.
So easy.
It makes sense. Yeah, and we've talked about this upside down and inside out. And he says, like I say, we talked about the idea of the Borg being brought in as a faction way before it was popular. We talked about the idea of doing things more like how Fortnite do it. And here we're seeing reflections of the Fortnite style of Battle Pass and things like that. We've said so many things on the community panel, and it's not just myself and yourself. Lots of other people have said so many different things on the community panel, reflecting the ideas that are out there, and we're pretty sure that Scopely has listened. The problem that it seems to be sometimes is they don't understand. They listen and they think they're delivering, but they don't understand what it is we're actually asking for sometimes. I would have liked to have seen, and I don't want to rehash Borg content, but I would have liked to have seen, like you say, a PvP style thing or whatever, so a co-op thing, a proper co-op thing, or a PvP thing, or both, around a very big Borg cube that is not just a reskin of Armadas.
Yes.
Something a little bit different.
And I wasn't here on the Borg cube, but I as a paying player, loved it. Really liked it, because I could do a new thing. And then I said, okay, I'm not spending more money because I want the true gold frame. So after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just rest. So I didn't buy any more things, and I was getting 2 uncommon Borg cubes a day, and I was like, what? So there was no fun in it.
Yeah, there was no fun in it. And
the
rewards were irrelevant to people, even though it wasn't about the rewards. They were irrelevant to people to make it that extra little bit attractive, to give us that extra bit of drive.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know if there's much we can do with that, Anesis. Like I said, it feels like they listened. They said, "Oh, we can give you that," but they actually didn't understand what it was we were asking for.
Do you think they don't understand? I mean, there's
I think
some
they.
really bright people
I know. Yes, I know.
They are not.
I know. Yeah, I know. And I don't think. Well, some maybe, but the ones that matter, I don't feel. The ones that make the decisions or that decide on style or content, I don't think that they're actually driven by understanding of a player. I think they're driven by meeting targets. And I think that the voice of those who do understand is lost in the whole thing,
An example. So if you had that system we were talking about with that mine on the center, so that would mean that for the first time, upgrading a ship or tier up a ship or having a stronger ship would actually mean something. If you could example, like they have systems for Borg, you would have systems for doing that, and that would be something. Why do people upgrade ships if there isn't enough PvP? That would be a reason.
Well, some people do it just to be the biggest dog in the pack. Some people do it for status or whatever.
No, for status, no. But I do that. I upgrade my ships. And I'm the biggest dog, but I do it because I just want to be left alone.
Yeah, I know.
Don't come and just
a couple of comments just there in chat, and he says, so Warfire Nomad, shout out to him and D-Biz and Poddy. Like D-Biz is saying that it's horrible. 12-second changes and corrupted data, the third milestone. And Warfire Nomad kind of reflecting what I said about instead of grinding by pressing on arrows, we now press on squares. Alliance. Oh, is he? Right, okay. And then Paddy Campbell saying something about, did you try contacting Digit? I don't think I've ever been in direct contact with Digit. I'm a little bit afraid that if I did, I'd end up working for them or something.
Why?
I don't know. Digit headquarters is in Dublin. They're close by. I don't know. Like I'd like to keep my relationship with Digit separate to my relationship with Scopely, which isn't very healthy. I'd like to think that before I put this game down and eventually no longer play it, I'd like to think that I've made some sort of positive impact on its direction. And
yeah, don't start with ideas.
Yeah, and dealing with Scopely and my experiences there so far, I don't believe that's going to go anywhere, and at this stage I have no appetite for it or no interest in it. If I decide that I'm going to put in any real effort or time into affecting the direction of this game, or if the opportunity presents to do that, I'd like to think that Digit could be the way to go about that. However, listen, if I came knocking on Digit's door, they'd probably ring the police, I did have a wee joke with Octo one time, Octo of Elkar's fame, that we were talking about guerrilla tactics, and we decided that our version of guerrilla tactics with Digit would be to dress up like gorillas and stand outside Digit's headquarters some morning when they're all going to work, and start trying to interview them, maybe even live on camera, start trying to interview them for, about the game and about what their plans are and their intentions. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Myself and Octo could do that yet. A couple of the Irish lads could do it yet. There's a bunch of us on the founder server. We could all meet for a piss up in Dublin and sleep outside Digit's headquarters and wait for them all to go to work the next morning and hijack them on their way into the office. But we'll have to wait until lockdown is over before we do that, though. I guess all the guys are working remotely at the moment. Anyway, I'm here in the last couple of minutes while I'm waffling on in ACS and while I've been going on, and I've been rotating my ship between two nodes in Yarda, right? I'm already...
And you're liking it?
Well, I'm already experiencing wee bits and pieces of inconsistency when it comes to the mining rate and stuff like that. But it's going all right. I'm doing a node in 10 seconds. I'm just after hitting tier 9 with the Botany Bay. What am I sitting on there? It's a mindless thing that I can do, like grinding. It's a mindless thing. I don't have to be paying an awful lot of attention.
I do understand that. I'm not a real fan of grinding.
And I've already got 42k, right? That 42k, that's about 2/3 the way, over halfway to a refine within the Augment faction store. I need at the moment 71k to get 7,130 Augment credits. I've been doing a little bit of this, so I'm sitting on 147 at the moment. There's another 40k. Coming up on 50k now, just from spending a couple of minutes arsing about down here. It's enough for me to go away and refine that once and then take that ship home and do something else.
Yeah. Well, I guess... No. I was there already in Yarda. Couldn't stay. I understand what you're saying, but... For someone that's... one of the pleasures I had in Yarda, beside being in Yarda, or in Augment space, didn't have to be in Yarda, was to overload my ship and wait for ships to come and try to take my overload.
Yeah. But that's to be fair, that can be done anywhere.
Yeah, well, in Yarda, I don't know, it's different.
You got to start working on that Devore now and start loading up on Latinum and watch for them to come.
I don't mind that. It's just no.
Maybe now you should, because you can use that strategy to, like that. That's very. There's an animal that does that, isn't there? Plays it, pretends that it's asleep until it can pounce.
You're talking about carnivorous plants.
Yeah, pitcher plants are like that. Yeah, pitcher plants are like that. Come in. Here's the lovely little juice inside, but once you're in here, you're not getting back out.
Yes.
Yeah.
More or less like that. But that's just a way of doing PvP.
Oh, I can't fault that. Like it's no different to like one of the things I would do is sometimes I'd leave my shields down. I've been caught once or twice distracted, but I'd leave shields down. With one or two ships just ready on standby. What I like to do is have a ship repairing. It looks like that the ship's not in there, and then when I've been tapped, just repair those ships fully. When somebody comes to attack me, and and then just wait until they've cracked the base and start repairing. And if they end up losing a couple of miners, ideally they're not paying attention.
If you don't repair fully, you just repair one defense. They actually sometimes think, online, if they have strong enough ships to take that little bit defense you repaired, they sometimes don't see it, because after they look and you are just, if they don't go to the report, they just see you are destroyed like you were before.
Yeah, and you could end up inflicting serious damage on an enemy if they're not paying attention that way. And I've done that a few times, so I have no problem with that idea of luring an enemy in. I've done it, and it can be quite satisfying. But anyway, we were looking at the missions there. We picked up some of the missions in Augment Space. In the Augment Faction store, and we picked up some of the missions in the gift section. We'll get all of these other keys as we progress through the content. But I'm going to gear up. I think I'll use my Centurion. It'll probably just be faster. I'm going to get off this decoded mine here, because who is it? Is that Hiltz or somebody? Is rotating around that. It's Char, and I don't want Char using that Enterprise to go and knock me off that decoded thing when I'm not paying attention. Now there's a node that hasn't respawned.
Yeah, you have to really pay attention now.
Yeah, the ship's not displaying on nodes that are zeroed there as well. Anyway, listen, they say they fixed a bunch of bugs. There's a load more bugs in it. All that's to be ironed out yet. It's fair to say that this Outlaws content is all this Battle Pass. I've got...
Well, it's the new officers. We want to talk about the new officers.
Yeah, I'll come to that in a minute. Let me set up my Centurion to go and start exploring some of these missions. Let me see now.
I've done the missions. I just didn't do the...
How long are you talking about there, Nisha? Are they short, concise missions, or are they drawn out?
Well, I was entertained, and they are shorter than the last ones we were having.
Right.
I think the board missions were too long for, not really good rewards, and this one I think it's the right time. I don't know, that's the feeling. I didn't count, so not really sure, but that's the feeling I have after I've done them. Sorry about the noise.
No, you're alright. Let me find Hadley.
Oh, Hadley, you are one of those that has Hadley?
Yeah, do you not have Hadley?
No.
How come?
Well, I don't know. He must be... well, I do know. I'm sure it was an event, and I didn't do that event.
Oh. We've had Hadley from way back. Hadley was one of them officers you got way back, like the cadet crews, for example.
Yeah, I have people that has a lot of people have it, but I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, he became less attractive once they fixed him.
Or Tal or Harrison.
Or who? Or Harrison?
Tal.
No, I don't have Tal. I don't have Tal myself. Have Harrison, all right. Harrison was definitely one of these ones that was there in an event.
Yeah.
You know, I remember completing that event. Hadley, though, I thought I just got when the game relaunched, when the global launch and whatever. I think I just got him normally. I think we all got him here on our server because he was just one of those officers that was appearing when you opened officer polls, you know, when you were doing that. And then they took him out of that then at some point, I think. Okay, so I've demonstrated the grinding on these nodes. I'm not as displeased as some people are.
I notice.
But I'm at a stage as well, Anisius, where unless the content that they release is making me go, oh wow, look at this. I'm actually really, I suppose, deflated is not the word, because I've been deflated about this game for a long time. I've lost the will to try to get through to them, if that makes any sense. I've lost any appetite for trying to get Panic or any of them to actually listen, you know. And I've also got to a point where I've went, you know what? I've done their job for them. I have dealt with all sorts of crazy shit that has been attracted to people with a profile in this game, whether they're moderators, anybody who's got a public profile related to this game will understand. You yourself will understand, because you've got a bit of a public profile within the community out there. People will come to you with all sorts of mad shit, you know.
Yes.
And you have a choice. You can be, and this is the same with if you engage with any forums, I suppose. You can talk to those people, try to understand, have a human side to it, and deal with them, or you can just go, no, I'm not doing this, and block. Right? We're doing a certain amount of Scopely's job for them when we're dealing with when a player's saying this game is pissing me off because I've spent money and it's this, or I've got an addiction problem and I've realised that this, you know, and we've dealt with all of that in different videos we've done. People acknowledge and whatever. People who were brought together because of this game. We end up seeing it. Though if you're active in the community, you'll end up seeing it. And if you've got a bit of a public profile, you'll attract that, right? I'm just tired of dealing with shite that comes to me before it goes to Panic or Gala or the moderators.
Well, I think that
you know,
a lot of things that goes to them, well, they have a really good defense.
Yeah,
those moderators,
firewall,
those channels are just for the good and the bad. They are.
But it's people like me that end up, you know, I've seen it. I've seen both sides of it. I've seen people that will come to me before they'll go to Scopely, right? Before they submit a ticket, before they talk on official forums or they'll reach out to me, right? I've had that. And I can then direct them and say, you know what, you maybe need to raise a ticket, you need to contact Panic, you need to contact official Discord, speak to a moderator, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes there I'll be like, listen, if you don't get a response, I'll talk to Phil, because I know Phil, and I'll get a response from Phil, and Phil can then take on to raise an issue or escalate an issue if it's serious enough, right? Rarely ever had to do that, in fact, to be honest with you. And then I've got the other side of it, where people have tried to go to official channels to get answers, to get an issue dealt with. They get ignored. The firewall kicks in that you talk about. They get ignored, and they end up coming to somebody like me because they haven't been listened to anywhere else. You know?
Being ignored is actually good, comparing to what happens there sometimes.
Yeah, and being nice.
But yes, well, the thing is that a lot of people go to them as well. You know, the numbers cannot compare of
Yeah.
the people
But
they get daily or in an hour.
But I suppose,
to-
yeah, it's got to the stage where if they're not gonna, like, they've done everything to make sure that I don't have a platform within the community, and still I've got a platform within the community.
Well, that's not their choice, right? You
Oh,
have a
absolutely,
platform, you're
absolutely.
an
The only
entertainer.
the only person removes that platform is me, right? However, I've seen the lack of response, the lack of respect at different times. You know, I've seen that, and I've met it with the same. So I'm not complaining about how I've been treated. I've reached a point where I'm going, why would I make life easier for Scopely by doing their job for them? Why am I providing a platform to brainstorm ideas when those ideas are going to be taken and no credit given to the people that come up with them? No credit even given to the community, or indeed, even worse, people there who do not represent the community or have no idea what they're talking about. It's a buzzword that they use, and Scopely credit those areas and those individuals with representing the views that we've been representing for months, a year, maybe at this stage. I've been doing it for a little bit longer by myself, you know, but I'm wasting my time trying to impact on this game or get through.
But why do you have to get through Scopely? You just have to get through the community and the people that see the videos. That's
which is why I'm no longer interested in dealing directly. You know, in this idea we talked about that with Thaler, for example. Thaler always said that his main priority was to affect the game in a positive way. It's fine, right? Thaler feels at some point that he's not getting through and moves on to another game. Grand. That's all of us have that choice.
Yes.
Thaler wasn't interested in creating a platform for himself. He wasn't interested in, you know, getting subscribers for his channel or, getting freebies in the game by becoming an NDA'd moderator or content creator or whatever, you know. He had none of these kind of interests and walked away from it. I haven't walked away from it, and many others like me who have this game's interest at heart have stuck with it. And I've asked myself the question, why am I doing it? You know, like, there's two reasons why I enjoy playing the game, right? I enjoy actually interacting with the people and playing the game. As a player, not a content creator, not an influencer, not any of these kind of things, just as a player, right? And I wanted to impact on the game. The very first question I had with Panic when I had a phone conversation from way back was, what opportunities are there for us to impact on this game as a community? And he was very positive about all of that. I just don't see it anymore. They either really don't like me, regard me as irrelevant, or have forgotten. But I actually think there's an element of them that are a little bit afraid to deal with me. They just don't know how to. They just don't know how to step outside of their own bubbles and communicate. Like I said, it's like two male adapters trying to fit into each other. It doesn't happen sometimes, you know. They listen and they think that they understand when they don't really spend the time to actually understand. And the voices that are in there who do understand, I think they're drowned out. And I've been testing this for months now to try to figure out what is it I'm actually dealing with. You know, what sort of animal am I dealing with here? And I think I've got it figured out. And I'm looking at it and going, you know what, that's actually an animal that I don't feel that there's any point in trying to reason with. I don't feel there's any getting through to it. This is an animal that's driven by its instincts. That's overwhelmingly going to affect this animal's behaviour, and I would be doing myself a disservice by persisting in the same way that I have up until now, when I considered that there was a chance that this animal might actually, there might be some taming in it. You know, might be able to tame this animal a wee bit, like you know what I mean. Now I realise it's just a very hungry. It's like they're like a goldfish, you know. If you just keep feeding them, they'll just keep eating, and you're not going to have a conversation with them anytime soon. I feel like I'm looking at a goldfish bowl with a goldfish going around inside, and it's like there's really no point talking to this fish. I don't even know if this fish can understand. But what I do know is when I go over and I tap the glass, the fish either comes over because there's something of interest, or it swims away because it's afraid. You know.
Well, I think it has to do as well with so many things since you came into this game and you started the videos. One of the things is you can get, and I understand that, you know, sometimes a little too much involved, and it gets very intense. And so I think that's one of the reasons but the main reason, I think, it's just in the beginning when you don't have so many people, and I think that people are hooked now. With all the content coming, and you know, the
game has matured. The game has matured, and the community has matured, and I think that's brilliant, right? I feel that I have done my job now, right? I was there in the very early days. The community was all over the fucking place. Nobody was, all of that. So it's not gone the way I wanted it to go, but it's matured and it has come together, and it's more cohesive now. You know, me being too involved, absolutely. You can't play a game through its alpha stages, its beta stages, all of the different testing phases and all of that there, for playing it for years before the average player discovers it. And to go around encouraging people in the community and working with people in the community at the various different stages, whether that's the Aussie guys who we fell in with in the very, very early days when the game relaunched after the very, very first testing phase, and they tested the product with us for the guts of a year before merges and global launches and all of that. Even going back to them guys who joined us, there's a core there who go back to the origins of this game. And the guys actually nail it when they talk about making contact with Digit. And this is a little bit what I was talking about when I mentioned Digit, is I think that Digit are almost like, and I don't even know if this is the case anymore, but the Digit was always to me like a bit of a last resort. But Digit are limited in what they can do. But it was always like a bit of a last resort, that you've got this bunch of Irish lads who are within 2 hours travel distance of the headquarters of the company that developed this game. There's a bunch of us that have been with it from the very, very start. If we did turn up, if we decided to do a little bit of a meeting ourselves and meet in a hotel, have a few drinks and discuss this game, and then go and arrange a meeting with Digit, I'm pretty sure with some of the personalities we've got on the founder server that are based in Ireland, we could arrange that. And we could open up quite influential channels, probably. The thing is, everybody's busy, everybody's got their own lives, not everybody wants to take it that seriously. We're already very involved without involving itself to that level. However, I would say, if you consider LCARS 2.0, Hivemind, myself as a content creator, other guys like Triple H, even though they're not the biggest content creators in the world, they're there and they're recording and they're making videos, and Lost Pinky and all of these guys. This server that we come from, these players we play with, have led the community from day dot. And when they fight and fall out with each other, like what happened with LCARS, the entire community feels it. Right? I know the history of all of these guys, and it saddens me. It really, really puts me off being a content creator. It puts me off being on Discord. It puts me off dealing with the community at all. When I see an emerging group, or groups, plural, within the community, who are more interested about advancing themselves and making a name for themselves on the back of a lot of testing and hard work that the average players who have played this game for a long time, the most invested players, not just money-wise, because I would argue that there's something more valuable than money out there, and that's time. We all have a limited supply of time. Money comes and goes. Time just goes. And if you put years of your life into a product, that's more of an investment than any amount of dollar signs, in my book, right? You can't buy my time, right? Every breath I take there's no price tag on it. I offer it freely, or you can't buy it, right? Time is priceless, right? And I've given, as have a lot of other people, given this game a lot of their time. And I don't feel that that's respected, right? And some of the guys in chat there, like D-Biz saying that he lost Hadley after his big wipe, but Poddy's saying that you can't reason with money. They played a numbers game, or dealers who they work with addictions and all of that. These people that are out for profit and out for themselves, this is what seems to drive this company. And it seems as though from among the community, it's the people who are out for themselves that Scopely have paved the way for. And it's people who think for themselves and don't always agree with them that have been sidelined. And even, I'm not even talking about vocal people like me, I'm talking about the average player on, say, like the Founder server, who has put in years of their time, are quiet, you wouldn't even know that they're out there in the community, but they know this game way better than the average player. And yet those players are ignored and sidelined. Some of these players have both spent money and time on this game, which is way more of an investment than any whale as far as I'm concerned. If you spent thousands on this game and played this game for 3 or more years, I'm sorry, if you can be Anicius and be at highest level on your server, but you still, in my book, you still don't compare in terms of being a resource to the community as one of these guys is, right? Yes, you're a resource to the community, as all of these guys are. Whether I approve of their methods or their motivations or not doesn't really matter. They're all a resource to the community. LKR's 1.0, LKR's 2.0, Hivemind, they're all resources to the community, and they should all be encouraged. Without getting into the politics of it and who fell out with who or why or any of that kind of stuff, I have my views on that. And I've seen what people are going around saying, and I'm waiting to show an awful lot of people who are out for their own self-interest. They will have serious egg on their face when the truth of things finally come out. Because right now, people are hanging themselves, and they don't even know it, right? And I have reasoned, the people that have always been good people, I have always reasoned, if I have seen them making steps that I'm going, oh, Jesus, if only that person knew. And I've tried to give words of caution to people, and yet all I see afterwards is people sticking their nose into shit that they don't understand, and out there speaking and being very vocal in the community and making drama out of it. And that's something that's very close to my heart, because I know these people. I've played with these people. These are my countrymen. These are people that I have been through the wars literally with in games and stuff. We've been around the block. And you've been to this country, Anicius. You got a sense of how small it is. How I can't go to the other end of the country and go out on a social night without running the risk of running into somebody who knows somebody that I know or is related to somebody that I know. I go to the other end of the country, and I can go into Dublin, into a big city, and go into a bar, and there's still a chance that it's less likely in a more populated environment like that, but I can still run into somebody there. There's a chat. Like these guys I play this game with, we don't know each other in real life. There's a very real chance that there's some family blood connection with some of these people.
Why
to each
haven't
other.
you tried that?
I think people are of an age where they've got their families and they've got their own lives and they...
But just to meet together.
Listen, it's been
once a year.
It's been talked about, but I think people are happy with the way that listen, maybe someday we will do it. You don't know, maybe, I know some of the guys have met each other in real life and things like that. Maybe it will happen, but I don't think anybody has a real appetite for growing the relationships beyond what they are. I think people are content with the relationships as they are. And like I say, because this is such a small country, maybe there's even an element of fear that shit, there's, for example, there's Taz and my alliance. We shout out to Taz, right? Taz is from down the south of the country, right? The county that Taz comes from, my mother comes from that county, right? There's a very real chance that if I went down and got to meet Taz, I might find out that I could be related. I could be related to Taz in some way, right? Or that through some family history.
Why are you afraid?
Because you don't want to. Right, this is a very parochial country, right? There was a team. My family lived in this area where there was a team who done very, very well. They were very, very successful. A sporting team that were very, very successful, right? And in this area, people were very, very close knit, very rural, very close knit. Right, would support each other and back each other up. And this was in the north of the country where these communities had to come together because they faced so much adversity during all of the conflict, right? So these communities were tested, their strength was tested in flames, literally through the flames of war. These people's, the integrity of these communities were tested, right? So it would be very, very hard to damage the community spirit in some of these places, right? And people back each other up and stand beside each other. And in these wider communities, you could have 3, 4, 5, 6 of these Gaelic football teams, for example, right? And these people will band together. Their cultural identity is very, very strong, all of this kind of stuff. And one of these teams was doing very, very well. Was winning the All Ireland, was winning, they were champions of the entire country, very, very high respect among every corner of the country, irrespective of your political views, irrespective of your religious views, any of that there. These people were credited with being the best of the best, leading the way in terms of what they had done in this sport, right? 2 miles, 3 miles away, when this team was doing very well and had proven all of their detractors wrong and achieved amazing things, 2-3 miles away, their kinsmen who would stand by them through everything were out on the streets burning the flags of their neighbours because they were winning this, burning their flags of their neighbouring. These are people who they're related to. These are people who live up the road from them, out burning the flags, making a very public demonstration of burning the flags of this neighbouring village, right? Very, very strong sense of rivalry and parochialism, where people who live a couple of miles away, their grandparents might have fallen out about something, and the wounds of that still resonate with their grandchildren today, right? And even though people will stand together and be together in sense of community, they will be very, very divisive when it comes to who you are, what your history is, what side were you on in this, and what side are you on in that. And then that'll create divisions. And then people start to judge each other. And they start to get a feel for each other. So these Irish lads, I certainly have this sense that if I got to know the boys, it would complicate things in the sense that, fuck, right, so you're that type of person? You'll have each other nailed by getting to know them before long, or you're finding out that you're fucking related to them. It's just easier to stay away and keep boundaries, but it doesn't mean you won't meet up with a couple of lads, because if you are the sort of person that has the capacity to look beyond those kind of your grandparents were this, or if you can look beyond that, if you can look beyond religion, politics, sexuality, and all of these things that create prejudice or that there's prejudice out there around them, if you can look beyond them, you'll be fine. It won't matter.
Well,
I think that I've met some people off the game, and usually I just met the ones that I speak every day for a lot of time. And so we basically know each other very well, and then we meet up. And it all goes good, of course. It's just, of course you can make an alliance event, but you can also, just meet.
Oh, I've often thought of it.
Like
I tied with the idea. I can't remember if we actually talked in any detail about that. I don't think we did, but there was an idea one time when I very first started out doing content creation and all of that, thinking about, and when I was thinking about, should I do merchandise, should I do these kind of, when you're starting out and you're doing them kind of things, and what direction do you want to take and whatever. And as part of the thinking back then, I remember having conversations with a few people where we could do a convention, get Digit on board, being Irish and all of that there, and do a convention, a Star Trek Fleet Command convention, and include the Digit guys in that. That might have been a reality at one time when I was in the good books. I don't think that's a reality anymore, because I think any convention that would have any sort of official connotations to it, I would likely be excluded. Well, maybe not excluded, but I wouldn't be the first on the list, like, put it like that. So it would probably now at this stage have to be like a more private kind of thing, which is fine. That's along the lines of what you're talking about. A couple of people could just meet up and go for some food, a social thing, But there's nothing stopping a group of people from going and doing an actual event. There's nothing stopping me from streaming. Like I mentioned earlier jokingly that we could, hijack Digit employees on the way into work. That we could do that, and I could film that and go live on YouTube as we're doing it. You know what I mean? There's nothing stopping us from doing that. Probably not the way to go, but we could do that. But likewise, you could do official if Digit wanted to take a content creator in and go and do some proper behind the scenes stuff. That's something worth considering. I'm sure Deuce could head to LA and do that as well, or if, any of those American guys. Likewise, the likes of yourself or whoever that's more in close proximity to Barcelona, people could go in and do from the community behind the scenes with the Barcelona operation. All of these things, they just need a little bit of thought and working out, and they're doable. And it would bring the community closer to the company, I suppose, in some ways. But I've just lost my appetite for advancing any of that. I think you're right. The game has matured. The community has matured, and I don't think they're looking at it the way they were looking at it. I don't think anybody's looking at it now the way we were looking at it 6-8 months ago when we first started the community panel. There was no community forum when we started doing these videos. Mm-hmm. Since that, everybody's all about the community now. Community's one of the first things on anybody's words when they're talking about the players, and that's a good thing. That can be notched down to an achievement, I would say. The direction that community is being taken, like whatever way you want to cut this, I'm not doing this video to sell anybody a product. I'm not doing this to tell anybody, oh wow, this is great content, you should play it, take part in all of this, buy this battle pass, here's the packs you can buy and all of that. I've done all of that. I'm not interested in selling Scopely's product to people anymore. I'm interested in talking to the community, having this conversation about where are we all at and how are we all interacting with this content. Are we happy? Are we not? Some people are happy, some people aren't. Why? Argue the bit out. We were discussing earlier, about these rapid mining rates. You're not happy with it. Other people aren't happy with it. I'm reasonably happy with it. I might change my mind on that. You might change your mind on that. It's new. But it's new. Let's see. They might bring in an event that changes everything, and we might go, actually, it really works well for this. We don't know. But I want to be there, part of that conversation. I'm sorry, I don't have. Well, I'm actually not sorry. I don't have any appetite for dealing with people who are all about promoting themselves and their own egos, or promoting an agenda, or
there are people that
trying to claim that they, that there are too many people out there in this community now that are trying to claim that it's all about what they have done. Take certain content creators. I am the most important content creator out there. Go and fuck off with that nonsense, right? Or people who are creating a community resource. I am the person who's responsible for this. I am the person who done all of the work on this. Go and fuck off. When there's people there that know the truth that, okay, these people might have put in a shift and they might be working very hard at what they do, but no harder than anybody else that's trying to do it. This ego-based shit, I have absolutely no time for it. And Scopely seem to be encouraging that and allowing that, and putting resources into promoting that. So
I think what Scopely wants, more than anything from the content creators, is entertainers. They want people to entertain people.
Do you think? Yeah. I don't think that's their priority. I think what they want, I think Panic at one time had a plan that if he could get entertaining content creators, it would make the game attractive and they would be good ambassadors for the game, right? I believe that was Panic's plan. I don't believe that's Scopely's plan. I believe that Panic has had a battle trying to convince Scopely that this is the way to go, because I think the only thing that Scopely are interested in when it comes to content creators is a free way of advertising this ship or this pack or this.
Well, that also, but basically, what they want is entertainment.
No, what they want are downloads. What they want are they want downloads. They want downloads.
They want someone that, in a funny way, can put the new content outside, take a few critics to the game, and that's it. They want something very vanilla, very mild. They don't. There are so many content creators that...
Which is a great thing. There are people appearing now that I'm sitting there going like, holy shit, these guys are coming out of everywhere. And it's brilliant. That's really, really good, because the last thing I wanted to see was one or two... there's 3 content creators going live or engaging the community there this evening with this new content. That is fucking brilliant, right? I can have my personal disagreements with any of these individuals and we can have our opinions on how we each do business and all of that there. But the fact that this community has 3 content creators engaging the wider community all in the one evening when new content comes out, I think it's brilliant. It's not, the direction is not how I would take it. And it's something very close to my heart, because I firmly believe that out of all of the content creators and Scopely staff even, and moderators, I am the most qualified person in terms of building a community. I believe that. I know, and even if there was somebody else there that had similar qualifications to myself or experience to myself in terms of community development and all of that kind of stuff, I would still believe that I am the best person to do that kind of stuff. But that's my job, Ignatius. I don't want to be spending my time doing my job for Scopely when they can't take the criticisms from the community and don't want to listen. You know what I'm saying? If certain individuals had not behaved in certain ways and damaged relationships, things would be very, very different today. And what concerns me is that the direction that things took at a certain point has been encouraged when it should have been diminished. It should have been at least treated very, very carefully and looked at more closely. And I'm being deliberately vague because I don't want to name people. I don't want to name and shame people. It's another conversation I'm quite happy to have with other people in another video. But we've digressed way off the point in this video. But at the same time, we're talking about the community, so I'm quite happy to indulge that for as long as we're here, It's all you know yourself, like we know each other long enough now that I think you know that it's always been something that's been close to my heart in terms of if I can provide some sort of narrative for people to agree with or disagree with to get the conversation going, I'll be happy with that. I don't have to be right about what I say or what I think, but I'm quite happy to get the conversation started, even if that means being a little bit obtuse or a little bit controversial or any of that. I'm quite happy if that gets people talking, and I'm quite happy if other people, like one of the things I have to credit the likes of Deuce with there recently was I was banging away in the background on Reddit and on the founder server with influential players on the founder server recently about server merges, about the new content, certain players being excluded from that content and all of that. And Deuce picked up on the talk of server merges and he got the community talking about it. Now, the information wasn't really there, so people didn't really know, is this going to happen to everyone or whatever, and then it had to be clarified by Panic that server merges was actually only going to be for low populated servers. But to me, that doesn't matter. Deuce went out and done exactly what I believe a content creator should be doing, and that's getting the conversation started. He went out there, he was a little bit controversial, he wasn't afraid to say it as he seen it, get people's juices flowing, and then the conversation took off around the community. And I was able to sit back and go, thank fuck somebody was able to do it, because I hadn't even turned my attention. If I had tried to go and bring the server merges as an issue to the wider community, I don't know if I could have done it by myself. So that would have meant me going and asking somebody like Deuce, here, listen, will you do a video on this, or will you support this? Or I didn't even have to ask Deuce. It might be just pure coincidence, but I didn't even have to ask him or anybody else. The guys went and done what they felt was being talked about, what was relevant in the community, and it got the wider community talking. And that's a very positive thing. I'd like to see way more of that. I've done my bits on it in the past around wee background bits of knowledge and information that I've got on the game, old screenshots that go way, way back to different versions of this game, and asking the question, is this going to be similar to something we're going to see in the future? Is this architecture of the product still there? And does this give an insight as to what we can expect? I've had limited success, reasonable, but limited success in getting people talking about that and looking at that. The more content creators that are doing that and picking up on that kind of stuff, the better it is. If Deuce went and picked up now, for example, on the new factions, the potential for new factions and new faction space, and the old screenshot that I showed and the video that I done, if he went and picked up on that, as long as the prick's not fucking going and trying to claim it for himself, like, if he went and picked up on that and got the community talking about that, I'd be really, really happy about things like that. Because then my job is done. I don't have to go and do it. I don't feel like I'm banging my head against the wall. Somebody else who's been out there and done a lot of the work in building up their profile with the community is now turning their attention towards getting the community talking about the potential direction of the game, or what are we looking at coming down the tracks. And that's not an easy job for somebody like him who's NDA'd. He has to walk. He's the only one that walks that fine line as far as I'm concerned. And he does it well enough. He walks that fine line where he just pushes the boundaries just enough with them. He's learned how to push the boundaries with them. And that's an enduring relationship, and that's great. We need people like that. But we also have guys that are level 45, 40, we have guys that are in these high levels doing videos. We have guys coming out that are lower levels. We have people with YouTube channels that have like 20 fucking subscribers who are doing regular videos, and it's like, great, this is what you want to see. All of these guys are taken to the camera. You've got Discord channels where people are streaming their content, their gameplay, onto other people's Discord channels so that they can interact. We've done a little bit of this, so that they can interact with another server. I think we've done Flandos on your server. That's what I'm about. Unfortunately, I can't. We all have real lives. I can't be on all of the time either. You need a team. Relentless had a really good idea there, and Scopely really should be doing this. They should have the content creators in official Discord, in voice chat all the time, almost on a rota basis. You do a 2-hour shift or a 3-hour shift, and then pass it on to somebody else. And have somebody in there.
That would be a good idea.
Yeah, have somebody in there talking to the community. Have a content creator in there talking to the community.
Yeah, but you know that in a community with 30k people, you would have a lot of people wanting to get in just to say rubbish.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's not nice.
But this is done. He was telling me about this being done on another game, and it worked well because the most recognized content creator, he was cool enough. He had a cool enough personality that he was able to engage with the players, and didn't really experience an awful lot of problems. And if he did, there were always enough people there to kind of regulate it.
Yeah,
you would have
to have a maximum number of people.
But look at how DJ's podcast goes, or look at how my Discord goes. Right, we don't have to worry too much about assholes coming into the room, because if an asshole comes into the room, there's enough good people there that's going to shut them up.
Yes, and you can always key commute or understand or do something like that, yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure if we were on open voice chat right now and somebody started to come into the stream and act the bollocks, not only would I be able to handle that by muting or doing whatever, right? I'm pretty sure the likes of yourself and Heck and the other guys would be very much kind of like, there's no need for that, piss off.
Yeah, well,
was somebody else trying
to
get in there? Did you hear a voice there? A wee minute ago.
Hello.
Who's that?
It's Mark.
How you doing, Spork? You're a bit, you're breaking up a wee bit on me. You're not very clear, dude.
That's Captain Mark.
Oh, Mark, sorry. You're not very clear, Mark. You're breaking up a wee bit. Are you driving or something?
No, I'm actually I'm in my office, but let me see if I can try a different setting. Maybe that'll work.
There's a bit of an echo there or something. Before, like I've been streaming for a wee while here now, and I'm going to wrap it up at some point soon. But before I do that, I want to just look at a couple of last things with this content, Anisius.
Oh yeah, please do.
I wanted to begin. Let's hear you, Mark, again.
Was this any better?
That's much better, yeah.
Yes.
That's much better.
Okay.
Do you want to, while I'm setting up a ship here, Mark, for to go out and start these missions, do you want to give your thoughts there on this Augment Patch 19 stuff?
Sure. Well, I mean, for it being so new, it's I don't mind it too much. I'm kind of equating it to farming hostiles, where you kind of have to be out there. You have to be actively, participating in it, much more so than the way the data mining used to be. You can't do a set it and forget it. Well, not that you can really do it, a set it and forget it before. You still have to kind of keep an eye on your mine, because the Botany Bay's protected cargo was so low.
Mm.
But yeah, it seems like it's just another way of farming.
That's what I was feeling. Others are unhappy with it. To me, it's another way of grinding. I like the idea that if I have a target on my back and they're all out to get me, that I can sneak into Augment space, not worry too much about bounty hunters, not worry too much about other players who are out to get me, and within a very short period of time bring home a haul of this decoded data to get at least one refined batch out of it, or whatever you would call it, one pull out of it.
Sure.
And then get home. And if I happen to get killed in the meantime, well, it's not the biggest repair costs in the world, you know.
Yeah, it is a cheap ship to repair, which is nice.
You know, I'm liking that. I'm noticing there's a couple of new systems there actually as well.
Yeah, you're going to be able to get into augment space from different areas now. It's not going to be one area.
Yeah, you said something about that earlier, Ignatius. Yeah, and presumably that's just to allow access from nearby housing systems.
Exactly.
You know,
so you can have enough war.
So you can be in and out really quickly. So now, like, I'm suggesting that is that Kuvalis 11, Eoger 11, and Rigel and the neighbouring systems around them. Now you move your base to there. If I'm talking about them, those kind of smash and grab tactics that I mentioned in there, Mark, about you know, I want to get in and get out as quick as possible and get enough for a pull out of it, or a couple of pulls out of it. To go down and grind in that, I jump my base down nearby here, unlock these pathways, jump my base down nearby. I'm in and out of there in a couple of minutes.
Right.
Done. The big question really comes down. We were talking earlier about what's available. We started the stream with talking about what's available in the faction store. Like, I mean, the only real targets for somebody like me to go after there would be the Khan avatar and the augment faction icon. Both cosmetic things that I don't need, so I can live without them.
Sure.
The ships I won't be going after. Maybe a bit of plutonium if I'm upgrading my Botany Bay. Botany Bay is tier 9 now, so that's unlikely. But if I'm in that process, the Botany Bay or some of those hijack ships, maybe a bit of plutonium. The augment credits we'd mentioned earlier with Ignatius about how that's probably the only straightforward way of getting augment credits. It's still a stingy rate. For 5,000, you're only getting 50. I'd like to see that change, but
there is a new way to get independent credits now, and that's in the event store.
Yeah.
If you're farming board probes, the rewards from that can be converted into independent credits.
Right. So that is another way. Yeah.
It's still a bad exchange rate, but you know.
In the event, they actually give you more points for corrupted than decoded. That's strange.
Yeah, they did switch that this time for some reason. I'm not sure why.
That's interesting. Just noticed that. 3 points for corrupted and just 1 point for decoded.
Yeah, but that needed to change because the corrupted mines at a slower rate.
Well, they were. I think they're all about the same now.
Are they all about the same now? Including, I haven't looked at the corrupted at all.
Even if they change the rate, it goes from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. So it's just...
Yeah, it's minimal.
Like, in fairness, I don't see why they couldn't have had it like where they've got maybe 20,000 on a node and you know, it's like fucking taking 30 seconds to empty it.
Oh, now you're saying what I'm saying, what I said. Just to go get a glass of
but
water,
I had thought that earlier, but it doesn't bother me. But I had thought that earlier, going like, I don't know how they would defend. I'm sure that's going to come up, and I'm sure they're going to come up with a reason why. I'm sure Keenser and all these guys are sitting there going, well, the reason why we didn't do that is this. And it's probably some bullshit reason, you know what I mean, around the economy of the game or balance or some bullshit reason. When in reality, it's just they don't want to make it too easy for people, you know. They want to make people constantly at it, as opposed to being able to go for that glass of water.
They want to make people to have more Botany Bays. That's what I want.
I got 2 already.
Yeah.
But then they gotta make it worthwhile for us, because there is no point in me putting any serious effort into going down and farming. It's nice to be able to get it at a quicker rate, but there's really no point apart from augment credits or these 2 cosmetic things that they've... Like, I can go for the augment recruits, but to be fair, I don't need them. You know, I already...
They are really good.
But my augment officers are doing pretty well without having to cash those in, you know what I mean?
Well,
Well, anything.
I really like my augment ones. I do really like... I use them a lot. I use Joaquin and Marla and Khan a lot. And Otto, not so much anymore. Since they changed the way you raid, but... Yeah.
Well, they're really good if you're doing raiding. If you're going against bases and you want to bust open a base, that's the crew to have. Is the augment crew.
Yeah, and I agree. Like
but,
I have.
But it helps if you have, like, I've tried with all my ships, and with the Bortus and the Augur, it works better with Joaquin Mascap, Otto, and Marla. But if you go with the Jelly, for example, it doesn't work so nice. It works better with Kirk or I don't know.
Oh yeah, you got
other crew, Kirk, Spock, whatever. Kirk, Spock, Khan.
It definitely helps to have the battleships. They just really work well together.
Yeah. So really like that crew.
Anyway,
really like
the point of what I was saying about getting the officers, those augment officers, is that I'm getting plenty of shards. My problem is not getting the shards for the officers. My problem is getting independent credits. Right. So I'm probably not going to be cashing those in on shards for officers because I'm getting enough of them. I'm going to be cashing that in on independent credits, and the rate is so shitty that I just go no.
If you don't mine and don't you buy every day the independent credits, then it's more difficult.
I tell you what is quite difficult here is ships are not showing on these mining on these nodes.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to attack somebody there and start a bloody war.
Yeah, just because you don't see them.
Because you don't see them, you know. Click a button, look away for a second, click a button, and fucking all of a sudden the server goes into meltdown.
I use that as an excuse to hit somebody.
Yeah. I don't know if do you guys remember the warp to mine? No.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember warp to mine? It used to be part of the row. Used to be a big thing as part of our row. Way back, as you weren't allowed to warp to mine.
You can warp to the.
You had to warp beside the mine because if you warped the mine and somebody got there before you, you would attack their ship.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They should bring that back.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I've sent the Centurion down to start these missions, lads, and I don't know if I missed it or what. Let me see. Flatter to deceive, was that the one I was going for first? Right, so while that ship's on the way to doing that, I'm going to do a couple of officer polls, seeing as we were talking about it, and we'll talk about officers. That's okay. Okay, so we've got an Augment Ultra chest that we can get these Zeta tokens. We said we'd mention about the Zeta tokens, right? They're to be used in the officer recruit section, right?
Right.
There's the mission. Okay. We get those from the data extraction event. It's the only thing that's anyway useful to me out of it. The augment.
Oh my god! Corrupted data is 500.
What's that, Anisius?
It's just 500. It's like 1 second.
Okay,
yeah, those go. I think mine's like 3 or 4 seconds.
This is so wrong.
One good addition that they had as far as the independent credits goes is they do have a pack now that contains credits.
Yeah. Well.
Which they never had before. So that's another avenue. I mean, it's not free, but it's an avenue to get independent credits. It's about half as much as you would get for any of the other factions.
You only got it now? No, you had it for a while,
been
right?
out for 2 weeks now or something like that. But yeah, that's available. It's like 4,700 credits plus a bunch of other stuff. Like Ultra Recruit tokens and such.
How many independent credits you get?
I believe it's 4,700.
Because that's level dependent.
Yeah, I'm level 38. So let me see what mine is here. Yeah, they call it the Ultra Independent Recruit Pack. And it's 4,750 independent credits, 34,000 platinum, 11,500 Ultra Recruit tokens, 8,000 premium tokens, 140 uncommon crystal, gas and ore, and then 3 badges of each kind, and 4 million officer XP. That's the $100 one.
I'm just after noticing there, guys, that Rev put in a message and then retracted it. Nobody happened to fucking see what that was, no? And the guys were talking. Yeah, Paddy was all on about that conversation we were having about the Gaelic football and all the niches, and he's a newbie. And Warfire Nomad's asking about officers. Rev must have finished his stream. So I don't know what message that was. It would have been nice if somebody had been able to screenshot that so we could see what it was. But
I know. I have.
Let's see. Right, where was I? So Warfire is asking about officers. I'm going to look at the officers. I don't have any inside knowledge on them. I just, from what I can see, we're talking Armada specific stuff, and we're talking this hull breach mechanic thing. We've seen this. We've seen in one of these officers, I suppose. Just to talk about that hull breach one. Let's go down and look at these new officers for a second. Right, so there's Mud, the ultimate con. So he's your Armada officer, right? Ship takes damage, decreases the weapon damage of the Armada target by 10%. You'd imagine the like of him with, like, I don't know, maybe rare bones, Mackay. That would be serious mitigation. Then with somebody like Decius, you're increasing your damage while decreasing their damage.
Yeah, I thought about that.
And then his officer abilities, when the shield health is depleted, he increases the weapon damage of the ship by 200% for the rest of combat, which is quite nice. That's the rest of combat. It's not for a round or it's not for 2 rounds. You're talking a 200% boost for the rest of combat. So again, in an Armada, that wouldn't be too bad. Or even when it's defending the station, it wouldn't be too bad. Once the shield is gone, in those sort of situations, you might get an extra few rounds of combat or that out of it when there's other ships mitigating the damage of the target or something, or turrets or whatever the case may be. Who else are we looking at there?
That probably would have been good during that Mega Cube.
Aye, something like that maybe. Yeah. There's Navi. She has.
Amorgin.
Yes.
Let me just say it's 2 a.m. here, so I'm just gonna say goodbye to everyone.
No bother.
I have to sleep.
I need to go very shortly
it's
myself.
Great to be here, and see you guys again. Another time.
No bother. Good night.
Yeah. Good night.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Navi's ability there is critical hit. When a ship has a hull breach, critical hit damage bonus 20%. just for that round. That's his captain.
Yeah, it seems the other ones, they all you need a hull breach before they even activate.
Yeah, and there's another hull breach, shield deflection, dodge of the ship at 50%. Like we've seen with the shield deflection, armor, and dodge. I think is common with Moreau. Is Moreau affect the same things there? Armor, shield deflection, and dodge.
Let me see here. She heals the shield as a captain and decreases armor piercing, shield
Decreases armor piercing, shield piercing, and accuracy. Right, so she's mitigation in that sense. And this guy we were looking at, we were looking at. She increases armor, shield deflection, and dodge. So she does it the other way. She increases the ship's armor, shield deflection, and dodge. That's 50%. You'd imagine, like, sometimes you're looking at these officer abilities or these officers, and in theory, as you read it, you're going, that would work beautifully. Like, you would imagine that if you can get armor, shield deflection, and dodge up by 50%, hull breach or no, that's going to be nice, right? Along with the likes of Pike, who enhances abilities and all, you're kind of going, that could be, that could be net. But then, in reality, sometimes the theory behind how certain officers should work together, it doesn't translate. Like when you look at Nero on the Augur, for example, it should be juicy as fuck, and it's not. And people widely acknowledge that there's a problem with that, and it's mainly to do with Nero, they say, but, there's an issue with that. And there are other combinations that should work really well, and then there's the combinations like Pike and Moreau that just work, it's just overpowered, right? And the argument is there to nerf that and balance out other combinations, and I would accept that that Pike and Moreau would be nerfed, I don't know, say by 10% or 20%, if you got the full abilities from the likes of Nero on an Augur and other situations like that. This could be one of those abilities, and these officers could be like that, where, it's like, on paper it's nice, but in reality it's not as nice. There's still a lot of testing to be done on that before we'll actually know. The same with Mud, the same even with these officers that come in during the Borg arc. When you think of 6 of 10, we've got a wee bit of testing on the like of him so far, but not enough to satisfy everybody to go, here's where he's really useful. I'm not satisfied that there's not a niche situation or a niche setup with officers and 6 of 10 that just works amazingly. I don't think enough has been tested to prove or disprove that. We could get into, I must do a whole new officers video. It's been well over a year from I done a video on officers, so I might do another video just on officers. But we'll look at these other two here while I have you, Mark. Rima is one of them. Start around the ship as a hull breach. He increases the damage of the ship by 40%. Again, you see these abilities that increase damage, and sometimes it works nicely. Carol Marcus works nicely sometimes for increasing damage. Certainly on Swarm, for me, she was a great substitute for, I think it was Cadet Kirk, because I didn't have Cadet Kirk leveled up.
She seemed to work best when somebody hit you.
And that's her captain ability. Yeah, her captain ability is in that defensive capacity. But I used her quite effectively because she's got like the 20% or 25% of weapon damage boost or whatever it is, or attack boost or whatever it is, right? So again, on paper, Rima's ability here, damage of up by 40% in the event of a hull breach. 40% damage. If you take your Saladin, or we'll not get too much into the epic ships like the Enterprise or whatever, who do plenty of damage already, but 40% boost on any ship that's got a big gun might be really, really fucking nice, especially if you hit a critical. But again, it depends on how that works. If you look at his officer ability, then it talks about hull breach. So both of these activate only in a hull breach situation, and he adds 5% to critical hit chances. So if you can imagine him with cumulative critical hits, and then 40% boost if you can activate a hull breach. That, on paper, should make for some serious damage. With Rayma, Khan, and this officer now we're going to come to, who instigates. Isn't that right? So so his captain ability is impulse speed, so that's nice. So we've got another impulse speed. We'd like to see some warp range officers, please, Scopely. We'd like to see.
Nice.
We'd like to see. That would have been much nicer if he had have added some sort of warp range. However, energy overload is his officer ability there as well, and this is what's interesting. He applies the hull breach to yourself. We haven't seen this before. We have seen in these other officers. If I go to, which one is he now? If you bear with me for a wee second, Mark, there's an officer here.
I think Pan would probably pair good with Claw on separate ships.
If you look at Severus.
Yeah, okay.
Right? Severus was the first officer. When I'd be looking at my officers and I'd be thinking, who am I going to slot in? Severus was never really going to be put in unless you can be sure that somebody's got a burning crew and they're going to burn your ship in a PvP situation.
You're right.
Right? So Severus was always on the subs bench. You know, he was always in the B team, even though what he offers is so attractive. Like, decreasing the opponent's hull health 10% each round, you so want that to work. You so want to see that ability kicking in, right? And then exploit overheat was increases the damage of the ship by 20%, right? So if you're lowering that shield and increasing that damage by 20%, again, all dependent on burning, it's so situational and so out there that you're never going to use poor old Severus, right? He's like your third choice kicker on the special teams. You know what I mean? He's never gonna see the field. Like, even though he's got some amazing stats, right? Now we see
he came out in the event with Zhao, and Zhao just blew him away because his abilities were so much better.
Right. Now we're looking at officers who are fully dependent on hull breach, and the same would apply normally to the likes of this Rayma guy. Who's going to inflict hull breach on you if it's not another player? Right?
I guess Armadas, maybe?
Maybe. Do Armadas inflict hull breach?
I'm not sure.
Right. So as an ability, if you look at like morale, burning, hull breach, all of these things that the different crews do, I'm not certain that any of the PvE stuff can do that. The reliable way for that, to be sure that might happen, is if you're in a PvP situation and somebody has a burning crew or somebody has a hull breach crew. Right? Now, for the first time, we're seeing this ability to inflict one of these abilities on yourself. And some people don't get it. Some people are sitting there going, why would you damage your own ship? I seen one of the other content creators going, right, so you want to damage your own ship, maybe if you want hull breach, and then didn't go into it any further. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is a very, very interesting turn of affairs altogether. Because now they're giving us this ability to essentially, you know, this idea in Star Trek where you'd overload your warp core to use the ship as a bloody missile, almost like, right? You know what I mean? You sabotage yourself to get whatever extra threat you can pose. So
it's your Hail Mary,
right? So this whole idea that we can actually inflict hull breach. I'm expecting to see next. I'm expecting to see an officer come in where we can affect burning on ourselves to complement Severus, or at least that should happen. That would make Severus so attractive then as well.
But make him usable again.
Yeah. Right now, Pan is the guy. Like, out of all of the officers, it's not Harry Mudd I want to test. It's Pan.
Right.
It's not Harry Mudd that's offering me the wow factor here and making me very curious to test this. It's Pan. I'll be interested to see how Harry performs in an Armada. Great. But he's not the guy that I'm going to be a pure nerd and going, has anybody used Pan yet? Show me your battle logs. Let me read what happens. You know.
Yeah, sure.
When Gregor eventually comes into the conversation, it's not Harry Mudd I'll be talking too much to Gregor about. It'll be Pan.
Right.
So I find that very interesting in terms of these officers, and that's my bit of a rant on it. Have you anything to add?
Well, Mudd's abilities seem pretty straightforward. I mean, they don't really. There's not too much interpretation on that. But Pan is the mystery, and that's where you want to find out what is. You want to get him straight and figure out what he really does.
Yeah. Have you any views? Have you any views on the battle pass?
It seems similar to the Borg.
Fuck's sake!
Events,
Captain Caffeine, good man. Sorry, Mark. This asshole in ROG, when you're out doing your fucking missions, he's just, I don't know. You know the way you'll get people that are like, yeah, they're all about the PvP and all of that there. This guy just has such a hard on. His whole life, I can picture this guy, his whole life just being based around waking up every day thinking about a player that's got hum tags and attacking them. That's I like if hum. I reckon if hum dissolved as an alliance, this guy would quit the game quicker than most of the hum guys.
Nice.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like he just, his whole game revolves around. He sacrifices everything. He cannot do any content or anything in this here because he's made such a pest out of himself. Sure. Pest was reserved for certain things, but ROG have the biggest single individual pest in this game. Now he'll have his view on it and say, "Oh well, I don't know, hum made me this way or whatever." I don't know. But the behavior of the player is what. The actions speak louder than words, and his behavior, he just, while everybody else is happy to play nice, he's the one that's going out like throwing the ties out of the pram and just constantly throwing fuel on the flames, and he has his justifications and all of that kind of thing, as I'm sure any of these players do, but at the end of the day, all the crying and whinging that goes on about you attacked me and I attacked you and this happened and that happened and all the rest of it, it's players like that keep those petty little squabbles alive. And on our server, there is one player right now who has the responsibility of a large portion of all the petty bickering that goes on between alliances. And it's dampened down a lot in recent times, in fairness, but 80% of that would be my estimation is down to that one single player because he can't let it go. Even like the most aggressive players that I've fought against or that my alliance have fought against in this game, eventually by now they've chilled out enough to be able to talk to each other to some degree.
Oh yeah, well, like you said before, people mature.
There are just some players that just. Unfortunately, they'll never stop being that 12-year-old in the school playground, taking things to heart and acting though like fucking every little thing that happens is relevant to them. It all revolves around them. It's always a big drama and always a big.
Yeah, if you got a pickle, they got to have it.
Yeah. Oh well. So I'm gonna go and. Finish off these missions on my own time, Mark.
Okay.
Battle Pass. Sorry, we were talking just before I got distracted with that guy's carry on. Battle Pass.
Yeah, the Battle Pass I think is very similar to the Borg extra or what were they called, the epic tokens.
Yep.
Where you pay to get the bonus content, not content, but Well, yeah, because there's missions involved too. You get tokens for or keys for missions. But it just allows you to get it faster, and then you get an extra bonus because you're paying for it. I'll do it. You know, because I did it last time I did it with Borg stuff, and you know, anything extra I can get, you know, I'll do it. And because I'm not sure if I'm going to have enough time to do what I got to do anyways, especially now with trying to learn how to do get a rhythm for the new data mining. It's going to take a little bit of time.
When you say get a rhythm, what do you mean? Like for anybody that's going to watch this stream next week, a week later is going to flick through it and get bits of information out of it, or anybody that's still watching there tonight that's trying to glean any wee bits and pieces of information. What do you mean? Because I don't get I'm tomorrow I'm going to move on from this. And I'll stick my nose down into augment space every so often and grab a load out of it and piss off home. Like, Caffeine's after killing my Botany Bay there. He probably got, I don't know, let me see. Let's give me a second here. Whatever his cargo hold. He got 36k of 200. I took home 217k. Of decoded, and he took 32k of it in his Gladius, right? I can live with that. You know, that's no problem whatsoever, 100%. If you're coming, a different story, you're coming down with a faction miner there and you're clearing me out of 200k, like, I won't be too happy. Like, if Caffeine wanted to get at me, that's what he'd be doing, you know? But you know, he's very hit and run. You know, he's a pest. You know, he's employed very effectively by ROG. Except I don't think ROG could control him. They just let him do what he wants to do, and as long as he attacks their enemies, then they're happy. You know, he's just.
As long as they're helping him, or he's helping them.
Yeah, he's the sort of guy. To be fair, like, I feel a wee bit sorry for him in regards to this kind of thing. He's the sort of guy that would be sidelined when there'd be no need for him anymore. You know, that kind of way. You know what I mean? He wouldn't see how much people are happy to use him in that way. But they, you know, when he's an inconvenience behind his back.
When he comes back from war, it's like, well,
yeah,
what do you...
Exactly, yeah. And getting slagged off behind their backs because they're a bit... you're a gun-toting lunatic and you've no problem with killing, you'll make a great soldier.
Yeah.
As long as you can hold enough discipline, you'll make a great soldier. You could be a fucking war hero, but you come home and you're still a gun-toting maniac. People are going to talk about you behind your back, and you're going to be looked at as liability. You know,
absolutely.
You know what I mean. And it's a little bit like that. Like, but anyway, I can live with that, right? You know, I don't like so much on the principle of it that my explorer was out doing the mission storyline and he killed that. But like, listen,
an alliance that does that too.
Yeah, no,
little mission points.
Yeah, live with that as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I know who he is and I know his game. You know, I know what he's at. Like, it'd be different. So if that was some randomer, I'd be like, what the fuck is this fool at? Like, but we don't have randomers anymore on the server. You know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So
alliance that does that. That's like their thing. And we're at war with it right now too, so that doesn't help.
Right. So in my situation here, right, I'll go down and take my chances down in augment space, pull a load out of it like I did there, and I'll either get home safely or somebody like Caffeine will come along and take me out. Right? That's what's going to happen here. From here on in. Tomorrow, that's my rhythm. I don't know now what you mean by finding your rhythm, or what any player might mean by finding a rhythm with this.
When I went into the system before, I was just jumping from node to node. Apparently, there's when you get to a certain point, a lot of these nodes are breaking because of the lag. It's so many people being on it at the same time. So you get to a certain point and you can't mine that node anymore. So you have to get off of it in order to find another node. Now, there were a lot of empty nodes, which is fine. And you can actually fix nodes by going and attacking a broken node, as long as you're not the one who broke it. So,
right. Hold on a second now. I'm seeing nodes here that are reading as though there's a player on it, and
are they zeroed out?
it's 0 and it says attack on it.
Yeah, exactly. If you would, because that's the lag. There's not actually a player on there, and if it's zeroed out, that means that it's that's broken.
Okay, that's good to clarify, because we were talking about this earlier, and I was afraid of starting a fucking war.
Yeah. No, that's if you attack the node, you can actually mine it yourself, but you can't be the one who broke it. Like if you zeroed out on that node, you can't fix it yourself.
I hear you. Right. Okay. So that's the workaround at the moment. The workaround at the moment is send. Now listen. Is there any damage to be done if you attack it with your Botany Bay? Is that okay?
No, it's not even a real attack. It's all
okay.
So if you substitute the attack button for a mine button, it'd be doing the same thing. You would actually just go and mine.
Okay. Sound. That's good to know. I was a wee bit afraid of that, and now that's clarified it very well for me.
So it's almost like so I guess what I meant by rhythm is if once you get a broken node, you have to get to another node, and then you're almost doing like a round robin because you're following people who are breaking nodes because they're jumping off of their node, and then you can go
right. Yeah.
yourself. So it's almost like a follow the leader kind of deal. Until you fill up your cargo, or if you want a chance it, you go over, you're protected, and you keep doing that until it's like rinse and repeat.
I get you.
Keep jumping nodes till you get to the next one until you're got enough, and then if you want to go home, you take what you got and leave, and then come back if you want to. But finding that balance where you feel comfortable, where you're not going to get hit before you want to leave.
Handy, yeah. So what I'm presuming what you're talking about is it's a dynamic from having a more active server.
Yes.
Competition for space, essentially. Right now I have
a lot more nodes now too. Yeah. I noticed that, which is great. So there's not as much competition, and I was it seemed like I was hopping around a lot, just going around even fixing other people's nodes because they didn't realize that once it was broken that it could be fixed.
Right, that's handy to know.
Broken nodes for a long time now, and it's with the way we had to, had them fixed. It had to go through customer service. But now there's not that wait time. It's just something that's not general knowledge right now.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. All right, I just done 3 ultra pulls, and I got 2 Navi shards, and 1 Rima shard.
That's cool. I was actually able, at the end of the Borg one, I was actually able to unlock 6 to 10 at the very last minute.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah. Have
you used them much?
Not much, no. I'm kind of getting a feel for them. I'm going to try and check them out with a couple different crews and see how they work.
Right.
But he could be interesting.
He could be. Situational, but I'm going to finish up this stream with these pulls, Mark. If I get anything nice, I'm nearly done with them. If I get anything nice, I'll let you know. Hold on, and I want to check my ranking on the board now.
Now there was a word, I'm not sure if how true this is or not, but I think it was. I think it's accurate that they were going to add the Borg officers to
shards.
To where where you could use transporter patterns on them.
Yeah.
Especially the epic ones. So that'd be like the Borg.
That'd be nice. I've heard talk of that, but I don't know if that's wishful thinking or if that's a fact.
Oh, really?
You know, I don't know. It would be nice to see. It would be nice to see, to be honest with you, all of the epic officers, no matter who they are, available through those transporter patterns.
Even once this arc is over, I would like to see Mud up there too. And any of the epic officers.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes sense. And it gives you another avenue to get those shorts where especially if you have maxed officers. I maxed out Kirk and I maxed out Nero and Corkin. So to get those transporter patterns is a big deal for me to get the other officers. Maybe Charvanek or Pike or those guys.
Mm. Have you got Charvanek?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I have her unlocked, but I just don't. It helps me to tier her up.
Do you use her much?
Yeah, actually, I use her with Amorgin. If I'm going against Federation ships, she's pretty. That synergy there is really good.
Right. What level's your Amorgin?
My Amorgin is. I think she might be maxed.
Aye. I've heard that Amorgin only really kicks in. Any of those officers only really kick in at higher levels.
And my Charvanek is. Okay, she's tier 4, level 20, so she's not maxed yet. But Amorgin. Keep resorting these by mistake. Oh, here she is. Yeah, she is maxed out. She's tier 5, 26,000 power. She's got the burning.
Yeah.
20% burning and.
See now, going up against your ship with that kind of setup on, say, my Saladin, for example. Well, it wouldn't have to be the Saladin, I suppose. But that might make an officer like Severus or somebody with a Nero crew on an Augur might make an officer like Severus relevant in a PvP situation.
Yeah, that could work.
You know, but that sort of setup you're using
on the Centurion even, because there's a boost on that for against Fed ships too. So between her and the ship boost, it's a pretty good combo. And then the synergy with Charvanek is just another extra bonus.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna go and finish my dailies and stuff here, Mark. I'm gonna call home this hijacked legionary.
Yep. Yeah. As far as the hijacked ships go, I got the D3. If I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. It's so. With the plutonium and stuff, it just got to be so much harder to upgrade that ship than any others. It seemed to me
what tier did you get it to?
I think I actually have it up to tier 8 now, so it's almost maxed. But I mean, it took forever.
Yeah, well, I'm finding my tier 5 legionary still doesn't have a patch on my Bordus. My game's after freezing on me.
It's by the other ships. So I mean, I put that into it, and I mean I don't mind it too much because I like collecting ships, but it's not it doesn't have the power or the usefulness that the other ships have. I mean, I have an Augur and I have an Enterprise and everything.
Yeah.
So it's
what crew do you use on your Augur?
You're gonna laugh, I think. I usually keep a hostile crew on it. I don't use the auger for PvP. I use my Enterprise for PvP.
Yeah.
My auger
Have
goes
you
out-
have you ever tried anything else like for armadas or that kind of thing, Nick?
Yeah, I send the Enterprise out for Armadas too. But I do have a D4 now. Where I'm trying to maybe I'll send that or set that up for maybe Armadas.
How does your augers compare to the Enterprise? Strength wise, what levels are they at?
I think the auger is actually a little edges out the Enterprise by a little bit.
Right. Do me a favor, will you? Try Kumak, Nero, and say Decius. Right, for example, or even the morale crew with like Decius or something, right?
Kumek is
on the auger in an armada, and compare it to what crew did you say you use on the Enterprise?
I have Kirk. I actually have 6 of 10 on there for some reason. I don't know why. It was Kirk, Bones, and Zhao.
Okay, and is that what would you use for an armada? Is that your setup for an armada?
Yeah, I was using that for Armadas too.
Right. Will you try the Kumak, Nero, and say Decius combination in an armada? Similar armada with the Enterprise and Augur, and compare and see if you find that the Augur's any way useful, or if it's still Enterprise all the way.
Kumek is captain.
Kumak as captain, say. Well, I found Kumak as captain better than Nero as captain, but putting Nero in beside him with, say, Decius, for example, right?
I've seen people use that setup as a PvP too.
Right. I'm just thinking, like, listen, you could go more defensive, and you could set it up a different way too, which is another way of looking at it, But I know Gregor would argue that there's no such thing as a tank in this game because you can't get the hostile to focus in just on you when it comes to an armada. But the idea of a tank, whether it's in real military terms or in-game terms, or a tank is there to be able to take the fire. It's not necessarily just it's to offer the protection in the sense that it can take it. It can inflict it as well, ideally, but others are there to inflict while this thing takes it. And we were playing with that in the Borgmatas, putting in the Enterprises and the Jellyfishes and the Augurs, right? Now, there were people with stronger augers than mine who were going in doing a more efficient job, but I still found a use for the auger in those kind of armadas. There was a lot of talk about the auger being a beast in armadas when they first came out. That chatter has kind of died down a fair bit now. There was
a glitch with the auger when the armadas first came.
I'm wondering, with the right officer setup, an Enterprise and an auger on a par with each other in an armada, will that work? Bearing in mind now as well, it has to be tested on an Enterprise and an auger as well. Is this new officer who's armada focused?
Oh yeah,
Mud, like
yeah.
Decreases the weapon damage. I mean,
designed for armada, so I think that would be really good.
Yeah, like if if you've got the closest thing to a tank would be your auger in an armada, right? If you had a mix of augers and Enterprises and whatever, you'd imagine that's probably going to be your best. If you mix of D3s, black jellies, Enterprises, and augurs, you'd imagine with the right officer setups on each of them, you'd be thrashing these armadas.
The augur's got that big gun too, so I mean.
Yeah, you know, and if you got that working, you'd imagine the augur would become seriously relevant again. But like, listen, do that wee test for me and let me know, will you? That Kumak and Nero with, say, Decius, your mitigation officers don't work there in armadas, so there's no point thinking like that, you know.
Yeah, I gotta find. I had the whole list of the ones that didn't work.
Like, you could go with bones, rare bones, as the third officer, you know, for mitigating damage, like, but.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think he wasn't on that list.
Yeah.
Most of the captain abilities, though, it wasn't officer ability. So if it's an officer ability, that wasn't deactivated for armadas. It was all captain abilities, and then for the borders, it was a ship ability.
Liam was saying in the chat there, Mark, that he was excited about the Borg officers when they came out, but new Augs don't excite him, which is a shame because the augments are probably his favourite part of Star Trek. So that's a bit of an indictment on it. You know, somebody that whose favourite part of the Star Trek canon was the augment stuff,
Right.
but who got excited about the Borg officers. And can't get excited about these.
Well, I mean, even in the show Enterprise, the augments were a big deal. They unfortunately, it was toward the end of the run of the series, but that was a really good. The Borg was huge for Next Generation, but with Enterprise, I mean, the big thing was the augments, and that was it was expanding on the whole con. Setup from the original series. It was nice to see that tie in and see where it began.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was very cool. Unfortunately, it's not so much here in the game. They could definitely do more with that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose they get the license to add in Harry Mudd into the game, and they go away then and go, where can we fit Harry Mudd in? And we've said it before, Scopely are like Ferengis in how they do business, like, right? So, and they make fun. They make jokes, like they make fun of the idea that, you know, this game is designed all around stealing your enemy's shit. Like, it's not about the idea of what made Star Trek stand out in terms of like the vision for humanity. You know what I mean. It's completely against the vision for humanity. It's all about, like, you know, war and stealing shit and all of that. So
Star Trek Online is like that too, though. Star Trek Online is very much like that too. It has its missions, but the missions are kind of secondary to the warfare and the ships.
Right, and one of the things in trying Star Trek Online, I felt. And, you know, I think it was Azazriel was saying it at the time, that experiencing a little bit of a storyline in Star Trek Online like an episode of Star Trek. So if you were playing Next Generation or whatever, it felt like it. You know, for me, certainly, as I was exploring that game, I had to do a diplomatic mission where there were diplomats in different areas all coming together for a conference. There was some plot to blow the thing up. I had to go to all the different diplomats, interact with all of them and their different personalities, and get to the bottom of this plot to blow the place up and defuse the bombs and save the day. And it lasted for about 30 minutes or whatever, and it felt like a little episode of Star Trek. You know, I was immersed in it, right?
Yeah, but you were a part of it too,
right? And I look at the storylines and this, and I'm just clicking through them. I'm not even half reading them.
Yeah, well, I think part of that is just the nature of the platform too. It's not being on a PC or not being.
Yeah, it's not interactive, and I accept that. But there are ways of making the experience feel like it's more interactive. Like, I've heard people say things like, and we'll wrap it up very shortly, but I've heard people say things like they're very good, they have very good skills at their disposal when it comes to these little CGI things, episodes that they do, right? If they can do that kind of quality, why aren't they giving us that in the game? Now, I understand there are technical difficulties with having that just available to you for every battle that you do, for every hostile that you kill. You're not going to get it would be too much of an expectation to see a CGI animation every time you go in and kill a bloody hostile, right? But for these specialized storylines, as one-offs, you won't be doing them again. Why not, at certain points through this, as we're reading text, why not make them dramatic? And, you know, even if it means connecting to an external server to do it, you're following this storyline, and when you've completed it, you return to your original location, and it's done, and whatever is attributed to your account is attributed to your account. But let us experience an immersive storyline. I don't think it's beyond expectation.
Even some little things like adding music or sound effects is a huge deal.
Right.
I've noticed when I listen to audiobooks, I started listening like Tom Clancy books early on, but I kind of got away from that because it was just a guy reading a book. But when I get into the Star Trek ones or the Star Wars ones, they add sound effects from the movies. They add music from the shows, and they do voices where it feels like even though it's one guy, it feels like it's a full cast. So it's almost like a radio drama.
Right, yeah.
But you feel a part of that story. You're not just, it's not just some guy talking to you, saying they're reading a book to you.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
You know, it does almost feel like you said, like an episode. Every book. And I enjoyed it. That's why I gravitate toward those more than even any of the others.
Like in fairness, Mark, I look back at early games that I played, or, you know, the entertainment factor in this game, in terms of what I can do and the way that it's delivered to me. When I was younger, I probably would have loved this an awful lot more. Right?
Yes.
I would have spent a lot of the time testing. Like, I've already done a lot of that, right? I have come up with things early in this game, as have a lot of other people on the founder server and the like. We've tested all of the little nuanced things of this game that eventually the wider community now accept that's the way to do it. Some of the things are irrelevant now, like, you know, but because they've changed things. But there are ways of doing things. I would arguably say where we were weak is on testing different officer combos, but in terms of what ship abilities and what ships done what, and, you know, the best way to get them, the best systems to farm them in, you know, lots of knowledge and stuff like that there. I think the founder server players were way ahead of everybody and were able to bring a lot of that knowledge ready-made to a community, and that got out there by people talking to each other, and by the likes of myself doing videos and talking to people, and Phil being a moderator and able to explain to people. Like, Phil being a moderator there, like, Phil tests this game a fair bit too, you know. Yeah, you know what I mean. When he gets his hands on a shiny new toy, he goes out and puts it through its paces. Like, we've seen the guys docking at the International Space Station and all that there, and them two guys being talked about like being test pilots, and that Doug Hurley, is that the commander? Like, this guy's a test pilot, but he's an older guy now, right? But you can imagine his pleasure at being able to use this machine for himself and do the things that he wants to do with it, and try, and for him to have the input to say, well, how about when it goes live, I'm able to test this and able to test that, right?
Oh, yeah.
And he enjoys doing that. And so, like, to me, Phil is like a Doug Hurley for Scopely. Phil is to Scopely and Digit what Doug Hurley is to fucking NASA and SpaceX, like, right? but probably undervalued, right? When I look at this now, I think to myself, I enjoy the bit of testing still, like Phil or like any of the guys, you know. But 20 years ago, I would have been champing at the bit to do it. 20 years ago, I couldn't have got enough. And would have been testing loads of things. So the amount of testing I can do now is not, and the results that I can achieve through that testing is nothing compared to if I had have been playing this game 20 years ago.
Sure.
And what it offers me in terms of entertainment. I don't mean graphically, I don't mean, you know, necessarily, you know, that it has to look as good or be as smooth, but
it still has to have something that grabs you and wants you to
yeah.
want to play.
And we mentioned earlier about how the game has matured. It's reached a point where it's reached, and the community's reached a certain amount of maturity. And whether we're happy with it or not, or we believe it's going the right direction or not, or any of that, it is what it is, and we are all a part of it and have had our part to play in that. Anybody that's been active out there in the community, and so if you've contributed on some of the forums, if you've come and done a video with a content creator, if you've tested something and submitted that to LCARs or whatever, you've shaped the direction.
Yeah, unlike a lot of other games out there, which the developers just don't, either they don't listen to the community, or they have a set plan that doesn't. It's not the same as, there's no flexibility in their roadmap. These developers have actually taken the time to listen, and it's
yeah. My problem with that, though, Mark, I said earlier, is I love that they listen, but fuck me, they don't understand. They either don't care or they don't understand, or both. When we look at our Borg armadas, I don't know how many conversations myself and Anisius and other people had doing community panels when there was no sense of community out there at the time when we started doing these. And we were talking about armadas and before they came out and all, and how it all should work. And we were envisioning what we wanted and dreaming about what it could be, and what that experience might be as a player, right? And I'm pretty certain that we helped shape a large part of the narrative back then, because it wasn't the way that it is now. Now. Rev Deuce is up there, number one content creator. Scopely utilize him to their full capacity in whatever way they can. He gets his cut out of it. There's a few other guys on his tail that are playing catch up with him, and it's all about ingratiating yourself with them enough that they don't turn on you, right? I know what that's like because I've been there, right? And I refuse to try to ingratiate myself if it means compromising the truth, right? And the only difficulty that Scopely can have with me is how I've delivered the truth, right? And that's okay. I have no problem with that. But if your reason for not listening to the truth is because of how it's been delivered, that's a bad reason for not listening. If you know that this is the truth, right?
Yeah, the truth is the truth.
And so to turn to spin masters to give a version of the truth, and for that to be a priority, reminds me that I've made the right choices with how I have interacted with this community, which makes me even more solid in my belief that I was right, and that I should not ever retract anything that I have said. Maybe if Scopely had given me cause for doubt, if Scopely had made me doubt myself and go, shit, maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm wrong about these things, these concerns. I might have been questioning myself enough to go, maybe I should apologise to Panic. Maybe I should, maybe I should do that. I don't think like that, because everything I have seen has just reinforced that I was right about in my initial analysis. And until things change in Scopely and their communication with players and content creators and whatever changes, the direction that it's going will not change. And yes, they're listening, but they just don't understand. And go back to the original point of the talking about armadas in the community panel when we were doing this, before there was any sense of community out there. There is a real sense of community out there. It has grown and matured and all of that. But we were listened to back then. But instead of understanding what people were saying, because it was representing a lot of views that were out there, and it shaped a lot of views that were out there, they went and reskinned something when a year ago they were being told by the players what they wanted, and they were listening.
Yeah.
But yet they took that and said, let's give them what they want. They want Borg cubes, they want this, they want that. How can we give it to them? Well, how about we reskin armadas? Oh, great, yeah, and we can encourage all that co-op gameplay and get them built working as a community. Great idea, pat on the back for you, there's your monthly bonus. Go and make it happen. That sets the agenda for the next 3 months. Panic is sitting there going, fuck, right, how now do I sell this to the community and make this valuable to the community and make them want to engage in it? And how do I prove to Scopely that I know my job and I know how to get this community excited? So he has his input, manages to shape the delivery of that. It works, and they've gone and they've tweaked it and done it again with something that is already in the game. Here's something nice and new and shiny, but really they've just tinkered with what was there already. This is almost like they're still testing this game. This is an admission that the way they had envisaged Borg space and augment space to work, they've now gone and had a complete rethink.
Yeah, well, augment space was a mess to begin with. So when they did that, it was just poorly done. This is their 2.0 version. Right.
And if this is 2.0, then we've been testing this. Now, I know a product has to evolve, I know it has to mature, and I feel, like I said, that this game has matured and whatever else, and we can get to the stage now where we can dust off all the shite that is gathered up in the garage and go, do we have any use for this? Or can it go in the skip? And you're lifting off this big tarpaulin and you're going, like, there's a motorbike. Like, we had fun with this motorbike for a little while when the weather was good, a couple of years ago when we bought it, but like now it's a toy that's in the garage, and like, would somebody else use this motorbike? Do we need this motorbike? Can we use it? And it's like, let's give the motorbike a wee bit of an overhaul here, and let's take it out for a spin. So we're keeping the bike, and that's okay, because I like the bike,
Sure. Yeah, and you don't want to get rid of something that could be useful.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah, okay, let's go out, and I say, you know what? I need goggles or some sort of glasses to protect my eyes when I'm out on this bike. And it's like, alright, okay, he needs glasses, and somebody comes and hands me a pair of shades, a pair of sunglasses, and it's like, well, like, it's okay, but that's not really what I need here. I need a helmet, I need something to protect my head. There's a woolly hat, it's something to protect your head. I was like, yeah, but I don't need to protect my head from the cold, I need to protect my head from falling off this bike, It's like, alright, they're listening, but they're not actually understanding why you're asking for certain things.
Sure.
Because they're not on the fucking bike. They're somebody that's sitting there going, clean out. That's mum and dad saying, clean out the garage. They don't give a fuck, like, as long as you clean out the garage, I need a helmet. There's a hat, It's like, fucking hell, this is not what I need. Like, if you want me to do this, like, I can do this and really enjoy this, or you can just make my life a misery because you just don't give a fuck. You just want me working in the garage.
Sure.
You know?
You better make room in there for the damn car this time.
Huh?
You better make room in there for the car.
Yeah. Fucking, yeah. It's like, when am I going to get to drive the car? Well, like, you know, you have to spend a load of money to get to drive the car. Like, right. Or spend a lot of time. Okay.
Both.
Yeah, and then I end up standing in the garage after putting in 3 years, going, like, when's time to drive the car? It's like, hold on a second, there's a queue of big spenders out here. You wait there. And I'm like, I've been here 3 years, like. I've been here 3 years, and every time I spoke up, I got heard, until you realised you had so many people outside that you don't have to listen to me anymore. And now when I speak up, I'm pushed into the corner. There's just too many people in here, you know. And you're glad of that. And some of them people will actively kick me out of forums for saying for being an inconvenience, you know. And I'm not the only one that has experienced that, but to do that to a content creator, to do that to somebody who could have been a good ally, you know.
Yeah, you're an advocate. You could have been a big advocate for that.
Absolutely, but it would have meant that people would have had to stick to, like, Panic would have had to have been right and been able to show that, yes, the community can influence the direction of this game. That was one of the first things I asked him, and that was something that he was sure could happen down the line. We are now down the line. And I think that Panic knows. He probably doesn't think about it anymore, but he knows that there are those in the community watching to see if this company will listen. Some people try to get heard by spending a lot of money, and some people try to get heard by taking other avenues. Some of them deliver community resources or a service to the community in some way, like building a bot or making a video or whatever it might be. People will be heard in different ways. And Scopely have listened. I really believe they have. I just don't think they pay any fucking attention. And they certainly don't understand. Panic is one of the few, I believe, that understands. But I'm so out of touch with Panic and all of them gays now that I don't even know if that's the case anymore, you know?
Do you think that Panic isn't able to...
I honestly don't know. Listen, everybody's got their real lives, right? So we have to understand that. And as well as that, some things get lost in translation, and sometimes the cultural differences. I don't use any excuses for any issue that Panic or Gala or Scopely or would have with me, right? I don't make any excuses for that, but I do believe that there are cultural differences that probably Panic gets more than many others because he lived here for so long. He gets the sense of humour, he gets how people interact with each other. I think we had this conversation one night about the C word and how often it would be used in Scotland or in Ireland or whatever, you know what I mean? It's a different context, you know.
Sure.
So some things get lost in translation, or some things get lost just, you know, because of different cultures, lack of understanding or whatever. And so that's certainly there. But I don't think that excuses the silence and the lack of effort to understand. It's all tokenism. It's a survey here. They will pay attention to the survey. Thaler was right. They will pay attention to the survey. But it's like, we need to put out a survey to make sure that we're not listening to the whinging. And then that will have the added benefit of having something for us to analyse then and see what the community want. So we have consulted with the community. Great. But when they're sitting looking at that and they've done all the surveys and they say, you want Borg? Do you want Borg like this? Do you want Borg like that? They're just sitting there going, how do we give what we have already said we're willing to give? How do we deliver that to them now? And it's not really what anybody is asking for. It's not really what the community is saying we want. You know? It's tokenism, like, all of the time. But sometimes they've got it right. Like, listen, it's not all doom and gloom. Sometimes they've got it right. Some of that Borg stuff worked well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Bit of an anticlimax, like, but...
I'm sorry?
Bit of an anticlimax.
At the last arc was not but the first three I thought were pretty well done.
Yeah, reasonable, yeah. It got me to spend money when normally I'd be against the idea of that.
Yep.
You know, it's not every game gets me to spend money. You know, especially when I've been around the block with it and I've had my criticisms of it, and I've found it very difficult to justify spending money on something that has so many bugs, or, you know, a company is making so much money and not putting it back into the community and all of that kind of stuff. But I liked it, and credit's supposed to go to Panic for that. Like, from what I've heard out there, it was Panic that was pushing for that style of content delivery. And if that's the case, then it's full credit to him. We've said that before in other videos, you know.
That was my I was going to ask about that too. Is do you think Panic's vision or his what he's getting from the community? Do you think that's being stopped by Scopely, or being missing by them? Maybe.
I think, like, see, I don't want to. Believe it or not, I don't want to be deliberately too controversial. I don't want to deliberately, believe it or not, step on toes, right? When anybody watches a video of mine or interacts with me and I'm a little bit, what would we say, energized, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's kind of play, right? So sometimes I'm playing with that, right?
Okay.
You know, like, I try to be as authentic as I can be.
Sure.
Right? At all times, whether that's on Discord, whether that's doing a video, whether that's on Reddit, whether that's, you know, I try to be authentic, whether that's among my own alliance mates or whatever it is, right? And even in real life, I try to be authentic, right? And that's a value system that I believe is reasonable to expect others to at least respect, if not adhere to it themselves. Right? Panic is one of the few that I felt respected that to some degree, right? Mm-hmm. In terms of, you know, who I've dealt with. Other people are not like other people are going to be other people, Mark, and that's fine.
Sure.
Live and let live. I have no problem. It's just I don't have to be dealing with those people then. You know, if there's somebody there I'm having an uncomfortable, it's same with us all. If we're having an uncomfortable experience with a client, in a social situation, you know, with a teacher at one of our kids' schools, in a queue in a shopping centre, you know, if we get an uncomfortable experience with somebody, we have a choice to engage that or remove ourselves from that. And we don't always make the right choices, but more often than not, it's easier just to remove yourself from those situations. Most people will do that if they find a difficulty. It's fight or flight, right?
Sure.
That's still there in forums like Discord and whatever else. People will go away and shut up if they feel that this is a hostile environment. They won't open their mouths. They won't weigh in. They won't, you know. And there will be those who are just constantly throwing their opinions out there. I find it easier to do a YouTube video and talk to people who I have at least got some sense are reasonably minded, right? And I don't care about their politics, I don't care about their sexuality, I don't care about their religion, I don't care about any of these kind of things. It's your race or any of that kind of, your gender, none of that matters to me. If somebody can be a reasonable enough minded person, they won't have too much difficulty with me. Right? You know, like I try not to have issues with other people, and I expect much the same in return. Usually a good guide for me is how somebody approaches me to begin with. So I mentioned Caffeine there earlier, for example, in the video. Caffeine's first interaction with me, and the man does not like me, and I don't like him, right? Doesn't mean that I have anything against him. It's just I don't like the way he plays the game, and I don't like being on the receiving end of his fucking behaviour a lot of the time, right? However, it's part of the game, so it is what it is. The reason that is the way that is, I could have made that very, very differently. It was within my hands, within my gift, to make that a positive relationship. But I'm quite happy to not make that a positive relationship because it's a game. And Caffeine would not be out there making damn sure he attacks my ships, and it wouldn't be making my game more entertaining by knowing that he's out there on my tail. He's an active, live, intelligent person that's out to find my ship. He's not a bounty hunter or hostile NPC ship that I can evade and whatever else. This guy's smart and this guy's clever and this guy can catch me, right? So he makes the game more of a challenge and more interesting for me, whether I like him or not, or whether I approve of how he plays it or not, right?
It's almost better that he stays that way, so
right.
you have that adversary,
right. So I'm quite happy to not apply reserved thinking to my interactions with players like that in a game, right? So when his first approach to me is to, I don't know, I think it was to criticize the crew, that he attack my ship, kill the ship, and then criticize the crew that I was running, right? But it wasn't a direct criticism, it was just his way, I think, in that he would say, he was being reasonably nice in the sense that your ship might have survived longer if you had a different crew. But it was just, to me, it was a very condescending opening to a conversation.
Yeah.
If you want to talk to me, go, fuck's sake, like, you know, your ship done shite there, man. Take the piss out of me. See what I'm made of, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, condescending is like, right, take your opinion and stick it up your arse. So I don't mind saying that to somebody in a game environment because it sets them then off as the challenge, right? You know, you're gonna offer me a challenge here. So it's a little bit like the trash talking that the boxers do. You know, the Conor McGregor thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Conor McGregor does not go home and worry about these guys. Conor McGregor does not really, you know what I mean? He doesn't bear any real animosity, right? But if somebody's going to be an asshole, he's going to fucking, you know, he's going to give it to them, like, right?
Yeah. If somebody's going to give it to him, he's going to give it back.
Yeah, exactly, right? And the whole Floyd Mayweather thing and all that there, I loved all that there because it was all about the trash talk and none of it was going to be about the fight. The fight was an exhibition. It was a show. It was nothing. This was all about the personalities.
It's the show before the show.
You know, so I don't mind playing with that in terms of I can be what I believe. I can come across very, very differently to people, and I accept that. And I accept I didn't play a blinder all of the time. But in my way, I know I've rubbed players up in this game the wrong way because of how I've dealt with them. I don't apologise for that because it's part of the game, as I've often outlining with Caffeine there, for example. But likewise then dealing with Panic or any of them, right? I have absolutely no problem being a thorn in the side if they don't show an absolute, this was always my guide, if they don't show me an absolute desire to consult with the community and get the community's views, then I reserve judgment on how I interact with these people and see what's going on around me. And when I started to see the direction that it was taken, I decided to be a bit of a McGregor about the whole thing, you know, and because it was always going to be a very public thing given the YouTube stuff and all of that. It was always going to be content. It was always had to have a certain amount of entertainment value, right? And if the entertainment value you're offering is that kind of raw but authentic, challenging, I'm challenging you kind of attitude, if the reaction is to go away and cry and be a bit of a whinger about it and be a little bit sore about it, then you don't get the game.
Right.
Right. You're in the wrong platform. And you're dealing with somebody here who's playing a very, very different game to what you can even understand. You don't comprehend it. So when it comes to the likes of Keenser and these guys who are behind the scenes, they hear about my video, watch my video. they may have some concept of what I'm doing. They don't like it because it's them that I'm looking at, right? And instead of coming up with a counterpoint to me and taking me on directly and using this as the McGregor-Mayweather thing, whether that's saying to pulling me and Deuce or whatever into a conversation and saying, right lads, listen, we're going to make it worth your while, but we want the two of yous in public arguing about the direction of this game and animating the community, right? Right now, everybody's taking sides and shit to do with LKRs and stuff like this that they shouldn't be fucking taking sides in. Instead of taking sides like WWE, let's make sure that we've got fit sportsmen who know what they're doing, contesting and competing. But let's not have it a real fight, you know. Right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right? But let's make it entertaining so that people can have their camp and have their views, and we'll then listen to them all. These will be our...
know where you want at the end of
the night. They just didn't see it. They just did not see it at all. And they got so sore to where I was like, hold on a second, are you for real? And it was like, we're telling you now that we're going to do X, Y, and Z if you don't do all of this here. And I'm going, this is nonsense. And Panic could see a certain amount of it, but he used to get a little bit sore himself, and I believe that that's because of what he would be listening to at work. Yeah. Right? So he'd be trying to get it, and probably was getting it on a fundamental level with his understanding of having lived in this country and, you know, and dealing with gaming communities and all of that, right? But I think the people that he was working with and people he was subordinate to didn't get it. And instead, Panic had to do things about it. He was always trying to manage. It was always a balancing act for him. And I think when Gala came into the equation, that upset the balance that Panic had established. She ruined relationships that Panic had spent time building, and that changed the direction that the community went. And the yes men that were in fairness, I said it before, that Deuce is one of the guys that kind of walks the fine line where he will push back a little bit, right? But he's still contracted to them, you know? No balance, no nothing. Straight going to the yes men and going like, here's what we want you to do. We're going to promote the fucking lives out of yous now, right? We've weeded the garden. We've gotten rid of the inconvenient parts. And now we're going to really promote yous fuckers. And bury the others. And there's guys like Admiral Jansen and myself and others there who go way, way back to the start of the content creator program and all of that there. They're sitting here going like, well, we haven't gone away anywhere, like. You know? Still play the game a little bit, still pay attention, like.
Sure.
And you know, the community is not going the way that I would choose it to go, but I'm not responsible for that. You know, I'm not responsible for taking the community in a certain direction, and for the effort it would take me, Mark, to impact on the direction, and the effort it would take from other people, because I couldn't do it by myself. I'd have to be going to the likes of you and others and making noise. And although I'm happy to do that, I don't want to be asking others to do it at times, and it's easier for me to go and play something else than to put in the effort that it requires when I'm not convinced. It's more than that. I believe that I'm wasting my time trying to affect the direction. For a long time, I was holding off judgment. Now I believe, I put it to the test recently with the whole mini campaign that I had about getting back into the event. Right? Now, I didn't believe for 1 second I was going to get back into that event during the Borg arc, right? Not for 1 second, but I had guys on the founder server sending in tickets because it wasn't just me affected by this, right? And these are the two oldest alliances in the bloody game. Go way, way back, right? Enemies of each other, both affected by this. And I used this as an opportunity to test something. Now, of course, I wanted to get back into the event. It would have been great if they had listened. I wasn't hopeful of that and holding my breath. So I put it to the test. And in fairness to whoever was on the Founders server, I don't even know the extent to which it got any support, if any at all. I know some people sent in tickets and lobbied a little bit. I done a Reddit post that got a little bit of engagement, and other kind of areas that I put on a little bit of pressure. And I done all that there in the background working away. But one of the things was an email to Panic. And within 3 days, I started to see things happen that may be coincidence, but I believe were a direct result of the noise that I had started to make and try to get others to make. And that noise got listened to, but instead of coming back to me and saying, let's have a conversation, or listen, I'll deal with this when I get this done, or whatever, instead of any response or acknowledgement, it was silence. And that was enough for me to go, okay, I give this a week and I see where it's at then. And I gave it a week and it was still silence. He might have replied to me by now. I haven't checked it in the last week, but I know now, and I'm speaking from the heart, right? And I'm live. I know now that there is probably no point in me even trying to be reasonable with this company, right? They just don't get it. I believe that Panic was hopeful of building something one time, and I think it got away from him. I believe that he's become despondent in the vision that he was excited about when he first got employed by this company. I believe he's no longer excited about it. I believe there's probably a practice within this company, and going forward will be a practice in this company, that there will be a turnover in staff, because there'll be more than just Panic. Panic is probably now starting to realise that there are other employees who have left the company for similar reasons that he may eventually leave it. I don't want to see Panic go, but I can't see Panic. I can't see him gaining control of the vision anymore. Like I said, I don't want to be dropping people in it, but I talked to somebody who has done Panic's job, who doesn't understand why they don't understand, right? And doesn't want to be dropping Panic into it, but will say he's your go-to man for X, Y, and Z. But reluctant to drop him into it all the time. That suggests to me that either Panic doesn't want to know, or just hasn't got the time to be able to. We called for more videos. I called for resources to be put into the community and put behind Panic. They hired one person, Gala, and put together a team of moderators. It's not enough. It's not enough to put 2 people in charge of a big community like this. You need 5 people, maybe 10 people.
Sure, and then they have to be on the same page too.
Yeah. Now listen, they have backup in terms of their equivalents, their peers on other IPs and other games. There are other people who do the community manager job that work for Scopely on another game. So there's peer support. And that's a big team in terms of community managers.
Are they interchangeable? I mean, do they?
They can. I believe they can be delegated in to assist.
Huh.
Where possible. Like, I was in one of their multi-game platform content creator channels that they created, where they brought all the content creators for all the different games together, right? And it was civil enough, like. But there was a load of community managers who wouldn't know me, for example, in there, and they couldn't handle the crack, basically, right? It was an Irish thing, like, it's the crack, like, they couldn't handle the crack, right? And sure. So I kind of toned it down a fair bit in terms of the crack, right? It wouldn't be the first place I'd be going if I was looking to have the crack. If the first place I go if I want to have the crack is with the crowd of Irish lads that play this game in my alliance, like, right? Because all of them know what it's like to have the crack, right? But there's a few Scottish and Yanks and all knocking about there, and Australians and whatever, who all have learned now, at least, if they didn't know already, how to have a bit of crack. right? These are the same guys that will support each other if somebody's on a downer, right? Or somebody's got a real life thing and they'll be like, listen, we've got you covered, you know, take whatever time you need. This is what community is all about, to me anyway.
Well, that's why I was wondering if the other games, you know, the managers from other games if they're as entrenched.
Well, if you take what do you call him? JB Scopely. Do you remember JB?
Yeah.
Yeah, JB Scopely now went away off. Like, he could be a little bit senior, so he might be over a bunch of them. But JB was drafted in when Q2 left.
Okay.
Right? JB held the fort till Panic was brought on board. And then the reins were handed over to Panic. Right?
Okay.
Then JB, once Gala got hired, JB was there in support to Panic, and once Gala got hired, JB pissed off. Right? So either JB went back to... so I heard somebody say he went back to a game. So instead of him being given a new role, he went back to an old role, seemingly. So one would presume he was parachuted in to hold the fort until somebody could be put in the seat to do the job.
Yeah.
Right?
Interim.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Placeholder.
Yeah. Yeah, it strikes me that that's what it was. Either that or they needed, you know... Yeah, he could be senior, you know, and he could just he could be like in a managerial role, might step into any of the teams, you know. Hard to know, like, I'm not that close to them. I'm surprised that Deuce, or maybe they're not allowed, but I'm surprised that the likes of Deuce or No One Shall or some of these guys, ND8 or DJ or somebody, hasn't actually done content on how Scopely work. How it all works, and explain to people, this is how it works. This is what Panic can do, this is what he can't do. This is where you need to direct this is where you need to direct that. This is their chain of command, this is how it works.
That would be an interesting video.
I think that would, and you'd imagine the ND8 guys are close enough to get the answers on that.
Yeah, that could even be a series of videos.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm waffling on with you here, Mark, as though I'm not live, and I'm just conscious that the time's ticking on, and we were live there. And there's some genuine, authentic conversation for people. No offense intended to anybody. It's all opinion, and there's a bunch of us here still left that are from the community panel that will still sit and shite talk like this and bring some Star Trek Fleet Command content. I've had a stagnant screen there. I haven't been doing anything in the game while we were talking. So anybody... I
have no responsibilities here whatsoever.
Right. Yes, yes, absolve yourself of all responsibility. Wash your hands of it. Yeah. But we've been on for long enough. And it's very, very late for me, and I need to hit the hay. So I want to thank you for joining me and talking shite with me for so long. Do that wee bit of testing on the Enterprise and Augur for me, will you?
Will do.
And let me know your results. And for anybody that sat with us this long or interacted in any way, including Deuce, who retracted his statement, and I need to find out now what that was.
We apologize for anybody who's still here.
Yeah. No ball. Right. Listen, good night. Take care of yourselves.
You too.